Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to Let's Start Story on What If Naruto Had Kurenai as his girlfriend and Had Big Harem Part 1. So do 4 blue hearts comment. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video, and please share with your friends and watch till end. Also check out Patreon for I have upload Naruto x Kurenai uncensored spicy version, link in description. 3 teenagers appeared over the body of their fallen Hokage. A silver-haired male struggled to keep his composure. His master, his teacher, lay before him. The one man who taught the young man almost all he knew. A girl, younger than the aforementioned male, hesitantly leaned down and brought a blood-covered baby to her chest. The child ceased its despairing cries as the warmth from her body embraced its cold body. Yondaime-sensei, the third member, whispered in despair. Rin. The young woman looked at her silver-haired teammate. Help me with his body. We need to take him to Sarutobi-sama. Of course, Kakashi. The brunette lifted the body onto Kakashi's back. Quickly the two left, leaving the younger girl behind. The golden-haired child unconsciously clutched onto her shirt, relishing in her warmth and comfort. Don't worry, little one, I will protect you, her gentle voice rang sweetly in the infant's ears. It was then the black-haired girl noticed her missing comrades. She quickly began walking towards the Hokage Tower because that was her best bet. Trudging through blood-engulfed scenery made her pick up the pace. She needed to get away. A few veteran ninja watched closely as the young girl strolled through the streets. After taking notice of the small child in her blood-drenched arms, they began to notice the other aspects of her. Her long black hair was tied in a messy ponytail that reached the small of her back. It was hard to determine her age due to the horrible light provided by the cloud-covered moon. When they saw her wine-colored eyes, she was instantly recognizable. The young maiden was Kurenai Yuahi. Orphaned at a young age, surprisingly talented at genjutsu, and had a high distrust of almost all men. She was a rare jewel to say the least. Yuahi-san. A teenager's voice broke the silence. What is it, Iruka? She answered quietly. The young male skidded to a stop before her. I finally found you. He paused to catch his breath before continuing. Hokage-sama needs you too. It was at this point in time the scarred teen noticed the baby. Is this? Yes, it was the baby used to seal the Kyuubi. Kurenai examined his reaction. All she saw was pity. I see. What about his parents? The boy asked, fearing the answer. I do not know. I recovered him from Yondaime-sama, that is after he died. So he must also have been orphaned. It was a statement rather than a question. The time for talk was over and the two continued together in silence. Upon reaching the tower, the three were instantly ushered into the main office. Almost all the high-powered ninja greeted the newcomers with fatigued looks. Kakashi and Rin were collapsed on the ground by the desk. Their wills were no longer able to sustain their body weight. The fourth Hokage's bloodied body lay on a table in the center of the room. Kurenai and Iruka walked forward until they stood by the other two younger ninja. Once again, the red-eyed female found herself the center of attention. Or rather the child that she held. She heard whispers among her superiors. That is the child, she heard one bald ninja state. Such a burden to carry, an older woman whispered. Gaining nods of agreement from a few surrounding ninja. The whispered assaulted the young girl's ears. She wished for them to be silent. Now was not a time for murmuring amongst one another. I desperately want the Sandaime to hurry and dismiss these scrutinizing eyes. Unconsciously she tightened her grasp upon the newborn. Thank you all for arriving. The voice of a powerful man echoed throughout the room. The Sandaime had finally arrived, accompanied by 4 people. Instantly, 2 of them were recognized as Tsunade and Jiraiya. The others were the elder Hokage's old teammates. I appreciate your patience. Now we have quite a few matters to discuss quickly. 3 hours later. Everyone but Kakashi, Rin, Kurenai, and Iruka may leave. But what about the child? What is to be done about it? The head of the Uchiha clan demanded. As far as I am concerned, we will decide what to do with him after our village has been rebuilt and stabilized. Sarutobi retorted harshly. Fugaku Uchiha snorted before leaving. Everyone else soon followed after. Once the room had cleared, the 5 elder ninja examined the 4 young ninja. Kakashi and Rin had quickly fallen asleep, resting on each other. Tsunade did a quick check-up on the 2. They are both fine. It is merely exhaustion. What of the other 2? Jiraiya asked. At the mention of the other two, Kurenai raised her head and Iruka slowly stood to attention. Oh, you are awake. Tsunade smiled softly. Just barely Tsunade-sama, Iruka yawned. Kurenai did not respond much but the medic nin knew she was paying attention. Yuahi-san? Jiraiya asked. She nodded, saying the man could continue. Can you give Naruto to Tsunade, so she can do a checkup on him? The medic nin waited patiently for the girl to unravel her arms and hand the child over. Instantly the baby awoke and cried. Its comforting heat source had been stolen. Seeing the distraught baby, Kurenai grabbed his little hand and he simultaneously stopped his fussing. Naruto was obviously not happy she let him go, but the little contact was all he needed. Kawaii. Tsunade quietly laughed. It seems little Naru-chan has taken a liking to you, Yuahi-san. The toad sage responded, earning a blush from the young lady. Within seconds, the checkup was done and Naruto was safely tucked back in Kurenai's arms. The baby was soon sleeping soundly. Other th. And the fact his body seems to be more developed than a newborn, everything is normal. That is a relief. Sarutobi breathed a sigh of relief. The Kyuubi is probably speeding up his growth so that Naruto can be able to protect himself quicker. Silence reigned. Eventually one of the elder Hokage's teammates spoke. Is there a place where these young ones can stay for the night? I know we are desperately short on ninja. But we need to give them more time to recuperate. I have a question. Kakashi slowly stood and placed Rin on his back. You may ask away. What is to be done with Naruto-san? As of right now. Sarutobi thought for a few seconds. Well, I really do not know. I am sure he will be placed in the care of a young couple or the nursery until he is old enough to fend. I will take care of him. Kakashi uncharacteristically interrupted. Forgive me, Hokage-sama. No apology necessary. Why do you want to take care of him? Rin and that child are all I have left of my master. The Yondaime chose this baby to contain the Kyuubi for a reason. I have a decent apartment that Rin and myself live in. Naruto would be safe and well looked after. I would have to think about that. I would also wish to take care of him. That is if Kakashi and you don't mind. Iruka stated tiredly. Me too, the red-eyed girl spoke. Why? It was a simple question, but Iruka could not seem to find the right words. After a couple minutes passed, Kurenai stepped forward. What else do we have? We are all orphans, Hokage-sama. All four of us share a bond through this single fact and because of that I believe we are the best choice you have right now. But I could give him to Tsunade and Jiraiya. They would both be a great choice, would they not? The Genjutsu mistress took a small step in surprise. Sarutobi was right. They would be a better choice. We could be like a couple. Jiraiya fantasized, puckering up his lips and tried to hug the woman. Like hell, you stupid pervert. Tsunade said, punching the man in the stomach. Tsunade-hime, the man whined, falling to the ground. Sarutobi slapped his forehead. Then again, maybe not. At that statement, Kurenai visibly relaxed. Tsunade was quick to notice this. She kicked Jiraiya while he was down, for good measure, and then faced the young girl. I think she is quite taken with the child. Plus if I was to take him, he would have no childhood. It would be filled with endless training and drinking. With this idiot, she kicked Jiraiya again. Naruto would most likely end up being a womanizer and pervert. That's super pervert to you, Tsunade-hime. She snorted and kicked him once more. What about living accommodations? I know Hataki-san has a place, but what about you, Kurenai and Iruka? The other teammate of the Hokages spoke up. They can both move in with me. The silver-haired wonder stated. I am a Junin, so I can afford a large apartment with enough space for all five of us. If that is the case, then I will not deny your request. However, I will only accept this under one condition. Kakashi nodded in agreement, so the Hokage continued. I will set up a monthly allowance. It is to be used only for Naruto and to help pay for your rent. I know Kurenai, Iruka, and Rin are all Chunin and Kakashi is a Junin, but I will feel more comfortable if I know you will have sufficient funds to pay for it all. After all, this battle with the Kyuubi was devastating to our economy and overall village condition. We gladly accept your stipulation. The three conscious ninja stated. Now that the matter had been settled, Sarutobi ushered the young shinobi out. Kakashi was quick to lead his new roommates to his home. By the time the four had arrived, Rin had awakened. Yuahi-san, what are you doing here? Her teammate was quick to explain everything that transpired. Rin accepted immediately and led Kurenai to her room to give the girl a shower and change of clothes. The two girls first took some blankets and made a makeshift bed for Naruto. It was not much, but the child gladly accepted his bed. Though, he was quite reluctant to release Kurenai. Rin giggled and showed her new roommate the bathroom and change of clothes. Once the red-eyed beauty was in the restroom, she was finally able to see her appearance. Her black locks were greasy and stuck together in multiple places. Her normally white shirt was drenched in the blood. The same blood that still covers Naruto. She thought for a moment before exiting the bathroom. Kurenai reappeared with Naruto in her arms. "You should be given a bath, little one," she whispered. As though hearing her, the baby awoke and opened his eyes. What she saw shocked her. His eyes were a gorgeous blue, but what shocked her most was the fact that soon after seeing her face, Naruto cooed and giggled cutely. For the first time, in a long time, a smile graced her lips. "Are you ready for your first bath?" It was though the blonde baby understood her, "Cause he soon cooed and made a noise that sounded a lot like, uh-huh." The maiden locked the door before setting the boy down. She then started undressing herself. She watched in amazement as Naruto turned his head away from her partially naked form. The teenager giggled to herself. "It seems you are already a decent man. To look away from a woman undressing is a hard thing to do when you are a male." She turned on the water and let it reach a warm temperature before plugging the drain. As the bath filled, she finished relieving her form of her clothing and soon undressed the baby. Testing the water, Kurenai slid in with Naruto cradled over her shoulder. A towel surrounded her body, separating her and the little one. As she soaked in the heated water, all the stress of the day began to hit her all at once. Hot tears slowly raced down her porcelain-skinned face. A lot of lives had been lost today. The bloody battlefield still haunted her. She could still smell it, the overbearing stench of iron. Kurenai could feel the horrible, maniacal chakra of the Kyuubi. Naruto cooed questionably. Tiny hands patted Kurenai's face. She opened her puffy eyes to something else shocking. His hands lightly touched her face. Right underneath her eyes. With uncoordinated motions, Naruto seemed to desperately try to wipe her tears away. Again she found herself smiling. Maybe her fatigue was making her see or think out of the ordinary. But either way, it appeared to her that Naruto was trying to offer comfort. Even though she appreciated the gesture, the tears resumed. She cried softly for what seemed like hours. Naruto still tried to wipe the tears away, but his efforts soon became tiring. The exhausted baby soon fell asleep upon Kurenai's shoulder. "Forgive me, little one, let's get you to bed." Kurenai washed herself as best as she could without disturbing her little comforter. Once finished, she gently scrubbed Naruto and dried him off. Rin suddenly knocked on the door. "Yuahi-san, is everything alright?" "Yes, I will be out soon." True to her word, the Chunin was out. Rin smiled at the sleeping blonde. "Well, I see he got his first bath as well as his first bath with a woman." They both snickered at her comment. "Kurenai, let's go to bed." With a small nod, the two girls were soon in bed asleep. Naruto lay in his makeshift bed, close to his red-eyed savior. Morning crept slowly forward, much to the appreciation of the 5 house occupants. At around 10 a.m., Kurenai and Rin were the first to wake. Naruto soon followed and quickly asked to be held. Rin giggled. "Go get him, mommy." The younger girl glared before lifting the child into her arms. Naruto cooed excitedly. His actions brought a smile to her face. "Come on, little one, let's see if we can find you something to eat." Life resumed normally, well, as normally as it can with a child now in their lives. 8 months later, Kakashi and Iruka had constructed a room for the little blonde child. It had been well furnished. Thanks to the newly re-elected Sandaime. As far as Naruto was concerned, his overall development was drastically increasing. Though he did have a handle on how his body moved, the boy still had trouble with walking by himself. Even then, that did not deter the little guy from trying to escape whenever he had the chance. Poor Kurenai once again found herself chasing down Naruto. After a minute of chasing him, she finally captured the blonde child. He giggled as she picked him up. A smile formed on her lips. "Come, little one, let's go do some errands." The teenager told him. "I'll come with you, Kurenai." "All right, Rin." The three soon left the apartment. Rebuilding the village had been a constant procedure these past few months. It was basically a 24-hour, 7-days-a-week job. NEA. Half of village had been completely rebuilt. Where is our first stop? Rin asked. Grocery store, and then I was thinking of stopping by the dango shop. The groceries were quickly purchased and he trio moved on to the dango shop near their home. Rin watched in amusement as the men around her looked shocked that Kurenai was holding a child. Who's the father? Rin heard one Chunin ask. I did not know that Kurenai had a child. I never thought she had even been together with a man. Another guy stated. You all are idiots. Kurenai would never let any man near here. There is a reason she is known as the Ice Queen of Konoha. Oh good, she is still available. Well then, who is the father? Rin snickered and Kurenai rolled her eyes. These men would never leave her be. The two girls tried to not pay attention while they munched on their delectable treat. No one knows. I heard it's classified. Naruto was absent-mindedly babbling, making noises any child his age would. That is until something caught his attention. Right next to Kurenai's mouth was a bit of dango. He focused on the sweet treat much like a predator watched its prey. Before anyone noticed, Naruto had brought his mouth over Kurenai's. Shock quickly registered in everyone's mind. That was my first kiss. Kurenai stated, shocked in her head. Silence. Rin then decided to break the ice. Wow Kurenai, not only has little Naruto-kun taken a bath with you, he also stole your first kiss. The young girl giggled at the male's reactions. Jealousy oozed from all their auras, and some even showed complete humiliation. He had a bath with her. I can't believe we were bested by a baby. A few moaned and one even cried. It was at this time that Kakashi and Iruka walked into the shop. They both surveyed the area of downtrodden men and looked quizzically at the two young women for an explanation. Let's just say little Naruto-kun is more of a man than any of them. Rin smiled while Kurenai sighed heavily. Now, as for Naruto, he just cooed victoriously with dango in his stomach and Kurenai's lipstick smeared over his lips. Can that even be considered a kiss? Kurenai pondered. Why am I even considering this? Naruto is a baby. How would he know he was doing? But still, the perplexed teen took a damp towel to Naruto's lipstick-covered face. After he was cleaned off, she took care of her lips as well. The little blonde most likely had messed hers up. And she would prefer to have no lipstick than to have it be all messy. You're only 8 months old and you are already a ladies' man, Naruto-chan. Rin commented. The blonde boy cooed, oblivious to what she meant. Maybe you can melt her ice-covered heart. Rin thought. Oi, Kurenai, let's get out of here. All these depressing men have ruined the atmosphere. All right, Rin, the Ice Queen answered. Both females left the disgruntled group of men. Kakashi and Iruka soon followed. Suddenly an Anbu appeared before them. He stood towering over the young teens. Based upon that fact, he was rather an intimidating man. Other than the cliché Anbu suit, his only distinguishing feature was the fact that he wore a large crystal earring. Kakashi, Rin, Iruka, Kurenai. Hokage Dono requests your presence. We will be there soon. Before the Anbu left, he glanced briefly at the blonde child. The elite ninja then shifted his gaze to the one who carried the child. Kurenai looked through the slits of the mask. Is there a problem, Anbu-san? The red-eyed maiden questioned. Forgive me. Naruto-sama was different than what I had anticipated. Without another word, the more experienced shinobi disappeared. The group quickly found themselves in front of the most powerful ninja within the village. What is it that you needed as for Hokage-sama? Kakashi inquired. First of all, I wanted to see how Naruto-kun was doing. I guess I should ask you directly, Yuehi-san. She hesitated to answer, confused by the elder's statement. He is developing rather well. Other than the fact he is always wanting to be held or fed, Naruto is growing at a rapid pace. He is close to being able to run around the apartment. He's a fast little bugger, Hokage-sama. Iruka laughed heartily. Every single one of us has a tough time trying to catch him. I see. Well, another reason is I called you all here today is to speak on the matter of Naruto's upbringing. I am hesitant to all any of you to start training him as a shinobi. I know it is way too early for him to start, but still. My desire for Naruto, if at all possible, is to allow him to choose his own path. We all see where you are coming from, Hokage-sama. Rin interjected. We would not want to force this lifestyle upon him. However, if he does choose it in his future, would we be allowed to teach him basics? I will have to get back to you on that one. In the next coming years there are quite a few things that are going to most likely take place. Like what, Hokage-sama? Kurenai inquired. Teaching Genin teams and the Junin exams are the closest events I see coming up. The elder answered. Kakashi sighed heavily after the first couple of words were stated. You want me to start teach Genins? With all due respect, Hokage-sama, I cannot teach a bunch of greenhorn brats. And why is that, Hitaki-san? The silver-haired male stayed silent. His one eye stared caringly at Rin. Only Sarutobi noticed the glance. I have more precious matters to attend to. The Hokage nodded his head in understanding. All of you may leave, except for Rin and Kurenai. I have a mission for the two of you. The males excited with Naruto in tow. Before you ask, it is merely a recognizance mission. I need you to infiltrate a country and learn the basic layout of the land. How long will this mission take? Rin asked. I am thinking about 4 to 6 months. What? Kurenai uncharacteristically squeaked. Sorry. She at least had the decency to blush after her outburst. I am sorry to make you leave for such a long period of time. However, you two are the only ones I can send. Based upon your skills and your teamwork, you two are the only ninja I can afford to send. The man sighed heavily. Can Naruto last that long without me? He thought. Rin was thinking along the lines of her companion. What about Naruto-kun, Hokage-sama? How will Kurenai last that long without him? She smirked at her friend's glare. The elder chuckled lightly before coughing to regain his composure. I know that the two of you are attached to one another. Still, Naruto needs to get used to Kurenai not always being there. I will try. Why best to make sure that Hitaki and Yumino care for him while you are gone. So you have no need to worry. If you are sure, Hokage-sama, Kurenai said. When do we leave? Tomorrow morning. Here is a scroll with the details and objectives of your mission. The females took the scroll from his outstretched hand and proceeded to exit. Oh, and Yuahi-san. She turned to face the man. Why aren't you wearing lipstick like you usually do? Porcelain white quickly flushed bright red. Quickly she ran out the door to avoid further embarrassment. Rin giggled and followed her flustered friend. Sarutobi K. knowingly smirked and turned to face the large window behind him. It's so much fun to tease the young ones. Kurenai and Rin vanished the next day and did not return until 5 months had already passed. When the two entered their home tired and exhausted, what they found shocked them. Kakashi and Iruka were lying on the floor of the living room. Both males looked like they had suffered torture for the 5 months the girls had been absent. Their hair was messed up, dark circles encased their eyes, and their clothes were in disarray. The room was in shambles. Trash, instant ramen cups, and dirty laundry littered the entire area. Not only that, but for some reason, there also seemed to be scraps of paper thrown about. Kurenai noticed that some of the paper were colored a specific orange color. I think the little one found Kakashi's stashes, she chuckled. Speaking of the little blonde child, Naruto was sleeping soundly in the middle of the room. As the two girls neared him, Rin noticed a familiar-looking shirt grasped within his seemingly larger hands. It was one of Kurenai's shirt. It did not take them long to figure out why the house and guys were in their current state. Naruto Pro. Babli was not sleeping or eating while Kurenai was absent. Kakashi and Iruka probably tried everything to get the young child to comply, but every attempt ended in failure. The only thing that calmed him down was Kurenai's scent. After all, she was the very first thing he got to consciously smell and touch. Kohona's Ice Queen found herself unconsciously smiling. I never thought I would see the Ice Queen smile. Kakashi half-heartedly spoke. Shut it, Kakashi. So how was little Naruto while we were gone? Rin commanded. I would rather face the Kyuubi, the silver-haired teen sighed. Was it that bad? Kurenai asked. All he did was poop, pee, and cry. Iruka awoke and went into the fetal position. How can a body that small hold so much pee? Kakashi shook his head in pity. The scarred Chunin just sat there rocking back and forth. Iruka got the brunt of the attacks. Almost every time he changed Naruto's diaper, he got peed on. Usually in the face. Quote. Rin tried her best to hold back her laughter. What would you guys do without us? Kurenai sighed before picking up Naruto. Said blonde woke instantly at her touch. Kuahim. the boy exclaimed happily. All four teenagers stopped. Naruto continued on his verbal banter. Kuahime, Kuahime. Stretching his arms out, Naruto appeared to be giving Kurenai a hug. She quickly hugged him back. It's all right, little one, I am here. Kuahime spoke once more before falling asleep. Kuahime, Rin questioned with a sly look on her face. What a little sweet talker. Naru-kun seems to have a pet name for you, Yuahi. Or should I say princess? Every time I hold you, little one, you make my life more interesting. 3 years later, Naruto laughed heartily as her ran down the street. Kurenai, now 16 years old, smiled and sighed to herself. The little ball of energy was going to wear her down again today. Kuahime, this way, the blonde called to the young woman. Naruto slowed down. Rin shouted after the him. Man alive, we can't allow him to get anywhere near coffee when he is older. People watched as Naruto raced down the road. They could clearly see the boy was having a great time outside. Suddenly his forward momentum halted as he slammed into something. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Are you okay, Uzumaki-san? A voice droned. Gomen, mister. The boy stood and bowed low in apology. That is quite all right. The man nodded. How do you know my name? I guess it is my turn to apologize. My name is Uchiha Itachi. No way. The boy yelled excitedly. I heard about you. I want to be a ninja just like you. You're really strong and have a lot of cool jutsu. I forgot the word. The word you were looking for is jutsu. Naruto-chan, where in the world did he go? Over here. The two women found themselves facing the Uchiha prodigy. Oh, Itachi-san, I hope little Naruto hasn't caused you any grief. Not at all, Rin-san. His voice droned. Itachi-nisan. A cheery voice rang. A boy, similar to Naruto's age, ran up to his apparently older brother. He had short black hair and dark eyes to match. A navy blue shirt covered his torso and a pair of khaki shorts covered the legs. Though what the blonde boy thought weird was the fact that the boy had no shoes. Naruto-san, Rin-san, Kurenai-san, this is my little brother Sasuke. Nice to meet ya, Sasuke-kun. Rin cheered. The aforementioned boy quickly hid behind Itachi. This woman was too friendly for the 3-year-old's tastes. Do not be rude, Sasuke. He hesitated before gathering the courage. And nice to meet you, Rin-san. The three teens talked for a while. Naruto and Sasuke just stared at each other the entire time. The young Uchiha noticed that his blonde counterpart was a little bigger than himself. Though they were both around the same age, the other boy seemed to be a few years ahead in terms of body growth. Naruto was thinking along the same lines. Though he was wondering why Sasuke was so smaller than himself. Blue eyes shifted to the elder Uchiha. Itachi was someone that Naruto idolized in a sense. From what he had heard, the man was a prodigy among prodigies. His skills and overall abilities far succeeded most of the current shinobi in the village. The three teenagers were interrupted by one of the little boys. Itachi-san, how did you get so strong? The question caught the Anbu operative off guard. He had not expected such a question from the young male. Well, I have precious people I need to protect. In order to do that I have trained myself to the bone. However, I still have a long way to go before I am powerful enough to obtain my ambitions. Itachi answered seriously. Precious. What's that? It is difficult to explain, Uzumaki-san, but I can give you an example. I train myself so that I can protect someone like my little brother and my family. They are worth putting my life on the line for. A tiny smile graced the rather stoic Uchiha's face. It is like you, Kurenai-chan, Kakashi-kun, and Iruka-kun for me. Rin clarified. So I can get strong if I train to protect Kurenai-hime. The boy whispered to himself in self-contemplation. Unknowingly, Itachi had heard the boy's comment. You are correct. I beg your forgiveness. But my brother and I must be going now. Father is looking to start teaching Sasuke to become a ninja soon. I need to go pick up some equipment for him. He turned to leave, but stopped at the sound of Naruto's voice. Cool. Naruto shouted in excitement. When can I start my training? The two women hesitating in answering. We were waiting for you to decide what you wanted to do when you get older. A new voice sounded. Hokage said we could not begin to train you until we were certain you wanted to become a ninja. Kakashi appeared with a familiar book held within his grasp. Kurenai glared at the man's blatant lack of decency in public. The man ignored the glare and quickly put the book away before the two kids saw it. Itachi watched in amusement. Are you sure you want to become a ninja? The man asked for clarification. Yes, I want to be strong so I can protect Kurenai Harem. What about me? The silver-haired male questioned, showing mock hurt. But Kakashi Nisan, you're the strongest person I know, the blonde deadpanned. Are you saying that Kurenai-chan isn't strong enough to protect herself? Rin teased. No. The boy instantly rejected. It's because, Naruto pondered for a little while before huffing angrily. She is someone you feel you must protect. Itachi stated. That's it. Plus I want to get strong to keep those stupid guys away from her. The ones Rin Nichan told me about. Kurenai's glare moved from Kakashi to Rin. What have you been filling his head with? She demanded. Rin tried to act as innocent as possible. However, her roommate knew her better than that. Oh, nothing too serious. I just told him that men just pursue you because of how pretty you are and not because of who you are. Yeah, 'cause Kurenai Harem is pretty. But she is also nice and fun to be with, Naruto confessed, blushing. The red-eyed maiden sighed. Anyway, Kakashi interrupted the silence, should we get you some ninja gear, Naruto? Hi. I am going to be a ninja. A ninja. Watch out, World Uzumaki. Naruto is going to be the strongest in the entire world. Believe it. The boy grabbed Kurenai's hand and raced down the road. She giggled at the boy's enthusiasm as she followed. Suddenly the boy stopped. Is something wrong, Naruto-kun? She asked. Where is the ninja store? The boy blushed in embarrassment. It is back by our house. Oh, can you lead me there? The woman found herself smiling once again. He had a lot to learn, but he had plenty of time to do so. As the two walked back the way they came, their hands never parted. First a bath, then a kiss, and now holding hands, Kakashi smirked under his mask. I wonder what else little Naruto will claim before any other man. Kurenai and Naruto entered a SMALL shop owned by one of Konoha's famous weaponsmiths. His name was Kagekunai Shinji. The middle-aged man with white hair greeted the two. Welcome, what can I get for the two of you? We just need a beginner set for this little guy. The woman answered. I'm not that little, the boy whined. I have just what you need. The owner disappeared into the back room and reappeared moments later. He held a simple scroll. As he handed it to Kurenai, she inquired as to how much it would cost. This one is on the house. Uzumaki-san has a heavy burden to carry. It's the least I can do for him. Wow, thanks Mr. Naruto cheered. The two customers thanked him again before leaving the shop. On their way home, Naruto could barely contain his excitement. He was going to be able to start training soon. When the two arrived home, Kakashi greeted them and told Naruto to get to bed. Training would begin tomorrow morning. 1 year later, Naruto had finished his training for the day and retired to his room. The now 5-year-old removed his clothes, leaving him in only his underwear. Grabbing a towel, the blonde male entered the bathroom and took a shower. It took 5 minutes to complete the task. Eventually he was dried and dressed again. Over the past year his body had continued to grow at the abnormal rate. He now stood at an impressive 4 foot, 2 inches. If someone were to try and guess his age, they would probably answer at around 8 or 9 years of age. As the boy walked to his bed, he contemplated all that had happened over the past year. Kurenai had improved in her overall skills and Rin had been promoted to Junin. Iruka was still a Chunin and Kakashi had joined the Anbu forces. Other than those changes, life continued on as normal as it could. As for the training he endured, Naruto could tree walk and use a couple ninjutsu. Kurenai had tried to teach him some genjutsu, but it ended in failure. However, the blonde loved the time he spent with her. Every once in a while she would leave for a while to complete a mission, but she always returned. Each mission seemed to take her longer to return from, and Naruto is a rather impatient person. So while she was gone, he would train as best as he could. The faster he got stronger, the faster he could protect her. There are no shortcuts to getting strong. Only through hard work can you become strong enough. May the flames of youth shine. The words of Kakashi's rival rang through Naruto's head. His name was Maeda and the blonde's personal opinion of the man was, he is one strange weirdo. The boy's chest suddenly burst in pain. He tried to cry out, but nothing came. Confusion was clearly written all over his face as he collapsed onto the floor. His heart beat loud enough to echo in his head. The area near his sternum ached and it felt as though something was cutting its way out. Hot tears flowed from his blue eyes. What is going on? He screamed in his head. No one was going to come to his rescue. Since all 4 of his housemates were out on missions. The boy was able to wrench his eyes open and witnessed as something was exiting from his torso. From the looks of it, the object appeared to be a hilt of some sort. Pure instinct took over as Naruto gripped the handle. With what little strength he had left, the 5-year-old slowly began to pull. Every second it took, the pain decreased. By the time it was halfway out, Naruto noticed that the item was a sword. In a desperate attempt to end the pain, Naruto pulled with all his might. A bright light flashed and all pain subsided. He breathed a sigh of relief. What in the world just happened? After gaining his bearings, he noticed the sword was stuck in the floorboards near his feet. Upon closer inspection, the boy found the blade to be slightly smoking. It was as though the blade had just been forged. Its hilt was a standard katana style with a guard and pommel. The blade, however, was a onyx black. Starting from the cross guard, the black blade rose for 3 feet before slightly curving back. It looked like a long katana. Naruto grasped the blade and inspected it more. Pulling it from the floor, he found that it was nearly as tall as him. What is this thing? He questioned out loud. It's the first path, little one. Naruto jumped at the voice inside his head. The first path. Just how many exactly were there? Let us see if you can make it through the other 8. 8, he yelled. Just great, now he had to go through this experience 8 more times. Naruto woke up the next morning slightly fatigued. As he sat up, the black blade in the corner caught his eye. Oh yeah, the boy thought. Last night's events ran through his head. He pushed the memories from his mind and got ready for the day. Naruto pondered what to do today as he took his hot shower. Maybe visit the Hokage. He might be able to enter the academy now. After all, Naruto was around 4 feet tall and was more developed than anyone else in his generation. Up to this point in time, the young male had thought his growth was normal. That is, until he met others his age. Each person his age was either a foot or more shorter than himself. I'll ask the Hokage when I see him today. Suddenly a low beating sound echoed throughout the apartment. Ba-dum, ba-dum. Naruto neared his room. As he neared the bedroom, the sound increased in volume and frequency. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. The child found himself in front of him door. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It pounded in his head, the unbearable sound rattling his skull. Naruto fell to the floor, breathing heavily. An immense pressure bore down on the small boy, making it hard to even move. A low whisper entered his ears. Your name, the voice demanded. Naruto Stru. GG led to look for the origin of the disembodied voice. Finding no one else in the room. Shouldn't someone give their own before asking? He questioned through gritted teeth. At least you have some foe. Of manners, the oppressive force was relinquished enough for Naruto to breathe easier. Kageshin. Shadow Heart. That's a strange name, said the young male. Uzumaki Naruto, remember it well. Steam fish cake. And you think my name is weird? You've got some nerve, boy, the voice irately commented. What do you want anyway? I have some things I need to do today. Last night you became my WI. Elder, I think it is time to complete our contract. Wielder. Like a, Naruto thought. Yes, as in a weapon. Blue eyes instantly focused on the black blade wedged in the floor. How had the blade been able to enter into his thoughts? So it's you. Hi. Naruto reached for the handle, but dark tendrils exited from the blade. They slapped away the hand. He who has not completed the contract has no right to touch me. And how does one go about completing this contract? Blood, I am the blade made from your lifeblood. I am your heart's blade. I require your blood. Do you accept? Will you give me power? Of course, but only when you put forth the effort. My abilities and those of my brothers and sisters do not come for free or instantaneously. The blade hummed dangerously. Brothers and sisters. Naruto was confused. How could a blade have siblings? Then it dawned on him. Are you? Yes, the other 8 paths. Each one will test and require a contract if you prove worthy. Then I accept your terms. Naruto stated. The blade sensed the determination in its owner. Might as well get this contract finished quickly. A gasp escaped the boy's mouth as the black tentacles took hold of his wrist. Before he knew it, the captured hand was squeezed onto the sharp blade. Crimson liquid cascaded over the metallic surface. Why doesn't it hurt? I am a blade made from you. I am designed to protect my wielder, not injure him. So even if you lose possession over me in a battle, you cannot be injured by me. Within seconds the blood was absorbed into the blade and Kageshin spoke again. It is done. Now go about your business, Fish Cake-sama. The blonde sensed a hint of humor in the voice. He smiled and chuckled. So how do I go about carrying you? He inquired. Naruto stood and looked at the weapon. The guard was eye level with his current height. I will rest here. If you need me, simply call me in your head. The young child nodded and finished getting ready for the day. And he was out the door and on his way to meet with the Hokage. The trip was rather uneventful. Only when Naruto reached the Hokage tower did things excite the day. Kakashi-san, with your hip and cool attitude, I challenge thee to a contest. Quote, said silver-haired shinobi sighed in exasperation. What is it this time, Guy? The man's voice droned. Guy took a thinking pose. How about you see who can get a kiss from a girl first? Naruto suggested. Yosh, I accept. With that said, the spandex-clad man burst out the doors. Kakashi merely looked at his little roommate with disbelief. Nice one, Naruto. The blonde smiled. No problem. He turned to leave, but stopped. By the way, how was your mission? Can't tell ya, little one. The man did his signature eye smile. If I did, I would have to kill you. Naruto looked at his brother figure disbelievingly. With that, the blonde ascended the stairs and knocked on the Hokage's door. Enter. Some invisible force appeared to slowly open the heavy oak door. Once the 5-year-old caught the elder's eye, the man spoke. Ah, Naruto-kun, what brings you to my office this early in the day? Don't try to kiss me, you freak. A random woman's voice pierced the air. The sound of flesh being struck echoed throughout the village. My youthfulness has been rejected. A man wailed. Naruto tried his best to hide his smirk, but horribly failed. Sarutobi found himself sighing heavily. It did not take him long to figure out what the child had done. So what brings you here, Uzumaki-san? I want to join the academy. I think I'm old enough and strong enough. Are you sure about this? Do you know what it is to be a ninja? Naruto looked upon his grandfather figure. The solemn face that Sarutobi gave him clearly showed the seriousness of the question. Hi, it is to protect those that live within Konoha. I do this by not only putting my mind, body and soul under your control, but also my life. I will have to fight other ninja, complete my missions, and even take the life of another human. Are you prepared to travel down this blood-drenched road? If it means that one day I will be able to do what you have for this village, then yes. The elder Hokage saw only pure honesty and determination in the young child's eyes. All right, if this is your choice, then I will not refuse. The academy will be starting in a couple months. There will be a placement test to find out how advanced you are. Awesome. The boy cheered. But also be prepared to move out of your house. Sarutobi informed nonchalantly. What? With Kurenai and Rin, the two kunoichi were crouched next to each other, hidden upon a snowy slope. Their white cloaks only further hid them from prying eyes. So what exactly are we here for? Kurenai questioned. We are merely here to scope out the landscape. Hokage-sama said it would benefit us if we knew the layout of the snow country. Konoha has detailed maps of all the other countries, but this one. Isn't that a little strange? Yes, it is. But from what I hear, every squad sent here has never returned. Rin stated. An uneasy feeling gripped the wine-eyed woman's heart. What had caused all of them to never return? Out of nervousness, she cast a small genjutsu over the two, further concealing them in the mountain peaks. It was then that two heavy thuds landed behind the females. Where did they go? A husky voice snarled. Slowly Kurenai turned her head to look at the two newcomers. What she saw scared the most is what they were. Samurai. Quote, samurai have always been and probably always will be a ninja's worst enemy. They were complete opposites in everything. Ninja use deception and trickery to defeat their opponents, whereas samurai will face you head-on using their honor and skill. Another example would be that one uses a power called chakra and the other uses spirit. The list could go on for miles. Above all, one rule in the ninja world applied to every ninja nation. When facing an opponent such as a samurai, do not engage. Immediately retreat. The man that spoke had a large sword drawn out. It was silver in color and large, compared to a katana. The blade itself was slightly curved from the hand guard to the tip. It was easily 5 feet in length with about a 2-foot handle. What caught both girls' eyes the most was the hand guard. It was circular and was about the size of a buckler. In anger, the sword wielder slammed his sword into the ground. Kurenai did her best not to cry out in alarm as the blade dug into the snow right beside her. That was dangerously close. Tusho-san, the other male ordered. Calm yourself. Forgive me, Asuma-san. With that said, he sheathed the giant blade onto his back. Kurenai was slightly shocked at the appearance of the man. He had black hair and a well-trimmed beard. His armor shined from the sun's ray. The Asuma was a very handsome man. However, she found it odd that he did not have any sword on his person. There were 2, or what appeared to be, trench knives. A samurai with a ninja weapon. That's odd. Both women thought. Well, there appears to be no one here. Tusho said, a little aggravated. It seems that way. Well, let's head back to the village. Hi. After a few minutes, both women breathed a sigh of relief and Kurenai released the genjutsu. How much longer do we have to stay here, Rin? Only 1 more month. Little Naruto-kun might have forgotten about you by then, Rin giggled as her comrade glared. Let's just hurry to get this mission over with. This country is giving me a bad feeling. I just want to go home. To your little one, Rin interjected again. Kurenai huffed and jumped off, effectively leaving her friend alone. Oh, come on, Ku-chan. Don't leave me here alone. Back with Naruto. Why do I have to move out? Well, since you will be moving into the academy. The way we do things is a lot different than what we used to in the past. Once you enter the ninja academy, you move into it. The council found it more suitable so that the next generation can get more accustomed to the life as a ninja. It was frowned upon by many clans, because they also wanted to be instrumental in their children's development. So I will be living at the academy from now on. Only until you graduate, Sarutobi informed. Don't worry, Yuahi-san will be able to visit you from time to time. The way I see it, if we can separate the wannabe ninja from their families, we will be able to determine how they will grow in the long run. You will not always have your family to support you. By choosing to be a ninja, you are choosing to forfeit your childhood and become an adult. I see. Then when I get home I will start packing my things. Naruto said, turning to leave. There is no need to. We have been constructing a compound for all of you to stay in. It's kind of like his hotel except you don't have to pay for it. You will have a roommate and also have supervisors. This will make sure you don't cause too much trouble. As by some divine force acting as evidence, another feminine voice pierced the air. No, I will not kiss you, you weirdo. This statement was also followed by a loud smacking sound. Yosh, I have failed again. As youthfulness always says, if not the first 100 times, then it's the next 100 for sure. Sarutobi smacked his head. How did he get cursed with such a strong, but idiotic shinobi? Alright, Uzumaki-san, you may go now. I expect you to be well behaved with your roommate. Oh, you know me, Gigi-san. And that is what makes me nervous. With today's business done, Naruto went out to buy some ninja gear. 1 month later, Naruto stood before his 4 roommates. The appointed time had come to drop the boy off at the academy. The young male now sported a pair of dark blue shorts that came down to his shin. A blood-red shirt covered his torso and the lower portion of his face. Rin giggled as she noticed that the left sleeve was long and the right was almost non-existent. Some of his ensemble was influenced by a certain genjutsu mistress, thought Rin. A black belt hung loosely over his waist, decorated with a few pouches. To complete the outfit, the below-ND male had a small black vest and a pair of ninja sandals to match. Well, I guess this is where we say goodbye, Kakashi stated, placing his trademark book into his pouch. Yeah, I guess so. Stay away from girls, okay, Naruto-kun, Rin said, patting the boy on his head. The older they get, the more scary they become. Oh, and they have cooties. The boy backed away from the woman. Cooties? What are those? If you get too close to a girl, they latch onto you and drag you away into a parallel universe where you are slowly devoured. Eventually you will go insane, because as they eat you, they talk about pointless things. Cute boys, makeup, and shopping are the general topics. By now Naruto was really starting to believe her, but Kurenai stepped between the two. Why did she insist on torturing the boy? Knock it off, Rin. You'll make Naruto actually believe they are real. The Ice Queen glared at her friend. So they aren't real. Kurenai kneeled down so she was eye level with the blonde. Old not help but smile and laugh softly at the boy's hopeless expression. Cooties aren't real. After all, you have been living with me and Rin for 5 years and it hasn't happened. He scrunched his brow as thought. It did make sense. But then again Rin just had to push the envelope. That's because they don't attack the menu LOVE. RIN. Kurenai turned shouting, slightly blushing. Gomen. The woman laughed. Eventually her focus was re-established on the boy before her. Now little one, I'm not little anymore. I'm gonna be a ninja, so I'm a adult now, Naruto stated bashfully. Alright, she smiled gently. Then Naru-chan, you better behave yourself. We will all visit when we can, but you study and work hard. Okay. Yes, I become a ninja soon, so I can protect you from all those men that look weirdly at you. The Genjutsu mistress did a double take. What? Rin-chan told me that men look at you weirdly and that they have bad thoughts about you. So I will become strong so I can beat them up if they do that. She said it was to protect your honor. The blonde said quietly, pushing his fingers together while blushing. Said woman just giggled and hid from Kurenai's glare behind her teammate. It's alright Naruto, I can protect my own honor. Isn't that a man's job, to protect his woman's honor? He shouted. The child then returned to looking at the ground, refusing to meet her wine-eyed gaze. Wait, his woman's honor. Kakashi thought, totally dumbfounded by the statement. A glance over his shoulder told the man where Naruto got that statement. Rin just stood there whistling away, acting as innocent as possible. Should have known, Ruruka stated sighing. Well, we will take our leave. Good luck Naruto. I will see you for classes tomorrow morning. As the man walked away, he latched onto Rin and Kakashi's arms. I want to stay Uruka-kun. She whined. It was just getting good. No, you have caused enough trouble already. The two males commented. Once all three were out of hearing range, the ninja wannabe spoke. Did I say something bad? Naruto timidly questioned. No little one, Rin is just being, well, Rin. Hey, I'm not. I know, she smiled. It was funny how only Naruto was able to make her smile. Around him, it just seemed, well, easy, maybe even natural. If that is what you want to work towards, then so be it. However, I expect you to be able to beat up every single one of them. There are a lot of them too. Watch me, I will get strong enough to beat even Ero Sennin. I won't stop training until I can protect you from everything. Believe it. Naruto gave his signature smile and thumbs up. So you will get so strong you can beat up Jiraiya-sama. That will take a long time. By the time I graduate, I will be strong enough to protect you. Really? That's a big statement. It's a promise. I don't go back on my word. He shouted determined. I'll take that promise. Don't disappoint me little one. She teased. Suddenly Kurenai leaned forwards and kissed the boy on his forehead. Within an instant the boy's face was neon red. She kept her lips there before wrapping him up in her arms. His reaction was slow, but he eventually returned the hug. This scent, I have known it for as long as I can remember. I want to protect this scent, this warmth, my precious person, I won't let anyone harm her. Naruto squeezed a little harder. He did not want this secure feeling to end. It's getting late, she whispered softly in his ear. I know, he sounded dejected. Take care Naru-chan, you too Kurheim. Naruto quickly kissed her cheek and ran off into the dormitory. A tiny blush tinted her cheeks pink. Kurenai touched the spot the blonde had kissed. He had rough lips, but Naruto was very gentle. Once again she found smile gracing her lips. With Naruto, he slammed the door behind him and slid down it. Did he really just kiss her on the cheek? Naruto. What is it Kageshin? Prepare yourself, my brother is coming. What? Suddenly pain ripped through Naruto's right arm. Black veins slithered over the appendage and quickly climbed up to his neck. The blonde grabbed his shoulder with his left and collapsed onto the floor of his room. Uzumaki Naruto. WHWH what is YY your name? The boy gasped out. A deep chuckle echoed in his skull. My name is Tenshuhando, let us see if you are worthy of wielding me. The black veins on Naruto's neck and arm began to pulse violently. A silent scream escaped from the boy's throat and his arm felt it was being ripped to shreds. Naruto convulsed on the floor as pain continued to shoot through his right arm. "WWWH, what is your price?" the boy said through gritted teeth. "Straight to the point, I like it. Right now I am just searching your mind and testing your body. I need to see if you are capable of wielding me. It will be over soon." Kageshin materialized before the blonde and spoke. "Naruto, deal with the pain for a little longer. My brother is very powerful." Every second that ticked by caused the boy to get closer to losing consciousness. The pain soon subsided a little. The sweat-drenched male rested his back on the door. "As for my price, it is a simple one. But also one of the hardest to keep. Just tell me what it is. Your word. I want your promise that you will use me to keep your promises. A man is only as great as his word. You made a contract with that woman. And now I want you to make one with me. I can definitely promise that," Naruto stated with a smile. "That is my ninja way. If I do not keep my promises, you may take my arm as retribution." A weapon began to appear before the blonde and the deep voice entered the room. "I accept. I expect great things from you, especially since you also wield my brother." The pain subsided and Naruto was able to look upon his new blade. Well, it was more like blades. Before him was an interesting weapon. A 2-foot-long blade was stuck in the floor. It was a thick blade too. Judging by the length, it was about 6 inches wide and about an inch thick. Only one side of the blade possessed a cutting edge. The handle was normal, but was surrounded by a circular guard. Another, identical blade protruded from the other side of the handle. "You look like half of a windmill shuriken except you're silver." The blunt statement earned a snicker from Kageshin and an angry grunt from Tenshuhando. "Watch what you say, boy. I might just take your arm right now for insulting me. So when do I get to see your abilities?" "Boy, if you tried to use my power, you would die," Tenshu said. "Same here," Kageshin added. "Dang, well, time to go to bed." As all the stress of the day converged on the male, he collapsed onto his new bed and instantly lost consciousness. "I wonder if he will acquire one of our sisters next," the long blade stated. "I hope not. I don't want to listen to any of their nonsense for at least a few more years." The new weapon sighed heavily. With Kurenai, she entered her home silently, locking the door behind her. Rin was sitting on the couch with Kakashi at her side. "So did you give him a goodbye kiss?" the woman teased. Kurenai did not give her the satisfaction of knowing she was right. So she decided to avoid the question altogether. "If you two will excuse me, I am going to bed." She flipped her hair and walked into her room. After she left, Rin turned to her comrade. "So how was your mission?" "It was boring. All I did was escort some snobbish noble to the edge of the fire country. From there a convoy took them the rest of the way. There was no fighting, no danger. And basically was a waste to put me on the mission." "Then why did you accept it?" Rin questioned. "Well, Hokage-sama had to send either myself or Guy." He paused to let the information sink in. The brown-haired woman stared at him in realization. "I see, I would rather send you." "Guy, well, is Guy." They sat in silence, simply enjoying the other's company. "Junin exams." Rin inquired. "The Junin exams are coming. Are you going to participate?" The man's voice droned. Even though he tried to hide it, Rin saw through his facade. He was worried about her. "Would you like me to participate?" The young woman moved closer to her friend. Kakashi remained silent for a while. What should I tell her? Waiting had never been one of her strong points, so she once again scooted closer to the male. Said male finally realized a slight increase in temperature upon his right side. Rin was leaning up against him. Her head rested on his chest, arms encircled his waist, and legs curled behind her. "You should do what you want to do." Rin purred silently. They laid there for a few minutes before she spoke again. "Your lips are telling me, yes, but your heart is saying, don't go." "Kakashi, you know which one I will listen to." The next day, Naruto woke with two voices bickering beside his bed. "You wake him up." Kageshin sneered. "I am your older brother. Seniority trumps all." The broadsword countered. "If that is the case, Naruto-sama summoned me first. So I have seniority." "Shut up, both of you." The blonde decided to interrupt their bickering. rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Naruto continued. Why do I need to be awake? School starts in 10 minutes. Tenshuhando deadpanned. Oh crap. In Iruka's classroom, all the students were chatting on one another as Iruka tried his best to learn their names. He grabbed a folder from his desk and started going through the names. As the teacher looked throughout the class, he was able to pick out the clan members. The first two that caught his attention were students who had no pupils in their eyes. Hyugas, I take it the girl is Hinata. Iruka looked at the small girl who pressed her fingers together. Neji is the other one. Strange, he isn't on my roster for my class. Oh, that's right. Hokage-sama told me that he is here to protect Hinata. The teacher's eyes strayed to the next student. This one was rather obnoxious and had a small puppy resting upon his head. Must be an Inuzuka, Inuzuka, where is that name? Oh, here it is. Kiba. It was at this point that Naruto burst through the doors. All chatter ceased at the blatant entry. Sorry Iruka-sensei. I overslept. I have a very rough night. The older male rolled his eyes and pointed to a seat next to Uchiha Sasuke. I am just glad you actually showed up. I was hoping you hadn't gained Kakashi's habit of arriving late. Somewhere in Konoha, a sneeze erupted from the Junin's mouth and the item he was carrying was sent flying from his hand. The man watched in horror as the treasured object fell through a grate and into the sewer. No, that cost me a fortune. People looked confused at the man crying in the middle of the street. Why is he crying? All he did was drop that little box he was holding. A woman commented. Back at the academy, everyone felt a shiver as a depressing aura blanketed them. Well, now that everyone is here, let's do a roll call and start today's lesson. The day proceeded from then, unhindered by anything. Iruka was able to get a grasp on everyone's names. He started off Day with a history lesson and the basic mechanics behind chakra manipulation and manifestation. Since Naruto had heard this lesson many times before, he zoned out. Hey fish cake. Kage shinkled to the blonde in his mind. What is it? Do you have any idea of a training schedule? Since you are out on your own, I take it that the Hokage expects us to take training into our own hands. I don't. Well, we need to get one figured out soon. I do not want to lie around all day. You need to get strong enough to pick me up before someone can start teach you a style. Well, sorry. The boy snapped back. How was I supposed to know that I would be getting you guys? Not only that, but how was I supposed to know both of you would be taller than me? That is a good point, fish cake. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by an outburst from a classmate. Sensei. A black-haired boy waved his hand frantically. Sensei. Yes, what do you need? The scared Chunin questioned. Rock Lee. Ah yes, Lee-kun, what can I do for you? Can someone still be a ninja without being able to use chakra? All the children were confused. Being a ninja without chakra was like being a fish with no water. It was rare and most likely suicidal to try and be such a shinobi. Why do you ask, Lee-kun? I was told I have no ability to use chakra. But I still want to be a ninja. Iruka was shocked at the young boy's determination. It reminded him of a certain blonde kid. I believe it is very possible. However, it is a very difficult road to take. Every enemy you face will have some sort of skill with ninjutsu and genjutsu. Using only taijutsu and kenjutsu could give you a disadvantage. Iruka-sensei. Yes, Naruto-kun. Doesn't Maida guy use only taijutsu? Everyone looked at the Naruto in disbelief. It was common knowledge that there were powerful ninja within Konoha. Out of the top shinobi within village, copycat Kakashi, only few knew why, and the green beast of Konoha Maida guy were the most famous. For years people had wondered if Guy was capable of ninjutsu of any form, or if he could only do taijutsu. Even until this day, people have contemplated if Guy chooses to only do taijutsu to prove a point. To my knowledge, Maida-san does only use taijutsu. Naruto watched with satisfaction as Lee perked up even more. His giant eyes and eyebrows to match hardened with resolve. Sensei, I want to one day prove that ninja don't need chakra in order to be strong. I want to one day surpass Maida-sama. That is a difficult goal, Lee-kun. After all, he has about a 20-year head start. Then I will train really hard so I can catch up. Iruka laughed heartily. Lee sat down and listened intently. All right, I will show you some basic ninja techniques that I will be teaching you this year. 1 year later, The following year had gone faster than anyone had expected. Naruto, with the help of Kageshin and Tenshuhando, had created a rather basic training schedule. From his earlier years with Kakashi, the young male had developed training regime. It was basic exercises. Sit-ups, pull-ups, crunches, squats, and many other exercises were used to train his strength. Every day he spent 2 to 4 hours training his body in the provided training grounds. About 3 weeks into his training schedule, Lee had found him and asked to join. Now Naruto was not one to turn down a few ninja hopeful. So together they trained, learned, and built a friendship or rivalry in Lee's case. As for Naruto's swordsmanship, after a few months of training, the boy was able to pick up Kageshin and swing him a few times. The long blade had sighed heavily when Naruto had gotten tired after only 15 swings. He remembered the conversation he had had with Kageshin. Flashback. We are going to increase your training regime. You won't stand a chance in a fight if you can't even swing me more than 15 times. Not only that, but your form is an utter disaster. Well, sorry. Naruto spat. Maybe if I had someone to teach me how to wield you, I would have no problem. True, at least you can pick me up now. What about my brother? Have you tried picking him up? The blonde stayed silent. Of course he had tried. But his attempts ended in the blade mockingly berated him. End of flashback. Naruto entered his new room for his second year at the academy. To his surprise he found Lee sitting on the bed on the opposite end of the room. Lee, the blonde called cheerfully. My eternal rival Naruto-sama, how goes your training? Great. I can finally start using my sword efficiently. I still don't understand why you want to use a nodachi. That blade is extremely heavy and difficult to wield. The roommate commented. It was entrusted to me. It's my sword, so I will learn how to use it properly. A knock on the door was heard and Lee went to answer it. Kageshin, shatter. The blade responded to its master's voice and burst into a red mist. The mist then dissolved into Naruto's body, completely disappearing in seconds. By this time, Lee had reached the door and opened it. What greeted him left the boy stunned. A beautiful woman stood before the young male. Her black hair shimmered in the hallway light and her ruby-red eyes captivated him. Is Naruto around? Lee looked up at the gorgeous female. Not trusting his voice, he simply nodded dumbly. Ah, Kurenai-chan, the blonde called. Said female smiled gently as the hyperactive boy ran to her. Are you ready to go to the party? Totally, but what is the party for? Naruto questioned. Well, Kakashi asked Rin to marry him. So we are throwing them a party. Quote, marry, what's that? The blonde thought. Do I need to get a gift for them? Don't worry little one, I already got one for you. Hey, Naruto was about to retaliate for the little one comment. But she pushed the present into his hands and walked away. Naruto-kun. Who is that vision of beauty? The woman rolled her eyes at the boy's outburst. Even little kids were attracted to her. Oh, that is Yuahi Kurenai. She was my caretaker when I lost my parents when I was born. She is one of my precious people. She is the reason I want to become strong. I see Naruto-kun. I will catch you later, Lee. I hope to be back later tonight so we can train. I will wait patiently. At the party, the blonde knocked loudly on the door before entering. Familiar smells, scenery, and people greeted him. Kakashi's youthfulness has once again beat my own. Marriage is such a wonderful step. Congrats, my eternal rival. Thanks guy. But could you keep it down? I don't need you upsetting Rin. Kakashi stated rather bluntly. Naruto scanned the room. Rin was chatting with some of her friends, Kakashi was talking with Guy and Iruka, and Kurenai had gone to sit in the corner. The raven-haired female had a drink in her hand as she sat alone. She soon felt another's presence sit beside her. Judging by how the person's feet didn't reach the floor, which gave her only one choice. How is the academy going? Okay, I guess. I am learning a lot and getting stronger every day. Really now? She smiled gently. Iruka-sensei said that if I continue at the rate I am going, I will be able to graduate in a few years. So you don't have to wait too long, Kurheim. Oh really? You think you can beat Kakashi by then? Maybe, but he isn't after you. So. He sat there pushing his fingers together. I don't need to beat him. Now Kurenai was having fun teasing the 6-year-old. What about Guy? I would beat him definitely. There was no room left for questioning. The little knucklehead actually believed he could beat Guy. Kurenai chuckled lightly before rest her head on her palm. I would like that. All right. Naruto jumped from the chair and ran up to the spandex-clad ninja. Meta Guy. The elder ninja looked curiously at the Naruto. Yosh. A prime example of youthfulness. Shut up. I challenge you to a fight. Silence immediately took control over the room. Even Guy found himself shocked by the outburst. I said I challenge you to a fight, Guy. This little one's flames of youth burn bright. Oh no, Guy said the taboo phrase. Kurenai snickered to herself. I wonder what my little one is going to do about it. Kakashi, thinking along the lines of Kurenai, watched as Naruto lowered his head. His shoulders shook and his fists clenched tightly. Only Kurenai may call me that. The blonde shouted in his head. Guy was totally oblivious to the anger that cascaded of the small boy in waves. The man patted the ninja hopeful and spoke again. I see a bright and glorious future for this little one. That idiot, everyone in the room thought. Naruto raised his head and pulled back his fist. Don't call me little one. Red irises pierced into the taijutsu specialist's dark ones. With as much power as the 8-year-old body could muster, with a tiny help from Kyuubi, Naruto propelled his clenched fist forward. Kakashi cringed slightly as he predicted the target of the blonde's attack. Now Naruto was by no means short. The only problem was that Guy was rather tall. Due to this difference in height, there was only one place that the boy could do considerable damage. Within milliseconds, Guy's form collapsed to the ground in a heap of spandex. The woman gasped in surprise and the men cringed and subconsciously covered themselves. Right in the tenders, Ruruka whispered to himself. Naruto's breath was ragged from his anger, but his smile clearly showed his confidence. He had taken Meta Guy, the green beast of Konoha, down with one punch. Thinking it was his victory, Naruto turned to face his precious person with a smile plastered to his face. The woman could not help but smile. Technically her little defender had beaten Guy. Even if his method was rather, for lack of a better term, below the belt. Within seconds, the party resumed, unhindered by the crying male on the floor. The blonde triumphantly walked over to Kurenai. I told you I got stronger. He announced proudly. Good job, little one. She smirked. Hey. His pouted expression made her giggle. This is turn, caused Naruto to slightly blush. Her laugh was beautiful to his ears. Okay, only you can call me that. The boy whispered, barely audible. What was that, Naruto? A little louder this time he reiterated. I said only you can call me little one. No one else. Or I'll beat them like I did Guy. Alright, I accept that privilege. Her ruby lips curled up into a smile. 2 hours later. At this point in the party, only Kakashi, Rin, Ruruka, Kurenai, and Naruto remained. One of the visitors had taken Guy to the hospital, just in case anything was damaged. Rin was talking to her roommate in the kitchen while the men sat in the living room. So how did you propose, Kakashi-san? I never did get to hear the story. An audible sigh escaped the silver-haired male. I would have done it earlier, but something happened. Like what, senpai? I had just bought the ring. When suddenly a huge sneeze made me lose my grip on the box. It went sailing through the air and down into the sewers. For 9 months I hunted Konoha's sewer system. It caused me to be even later than I usually was. Eventually, after I found it, I asked her about a month ago. Is that it? Naruto questioned. Excuse me. Kakashi replied, completely baffled by the question. Well, didn't you do anything special when you proposed? I heard Rin talking about it earlier and all the women were saying, that's so romantic, and, I wish my boyfriend would do something like that. What exactly did you do? Fine, I guess I can tell you. A year ago, marriage had been on my mind. Marriage. I keep hearing it, but what does it mean? The blonde thought. I took her out to a nice meal at her favorite restaurant, and even got her that dessert she always wants. After that we walked around town, until we suddenly arrived at Obito's grave. Obito, I remember. That's the T.E.amit that Kakashi and Rin lost before I was born. Naruto and Iruka waited patiently as Kakashi gained his bearings once more. By the time we had gotten there, the sun was setting and the sky was filling with stars. Nothing was out of the ordinary and I believe she did not suspect what I was planning. I went to fetch the ring from my pocket. However, it was missing. I nearly panicked. As Rin watched the sunset. I desperately looked for the ring. Flashback. Kakashi was searching everywhere with his eye, trying his best to not alert the stargazing female. Of all the times to lose the ring, the man ferociously thought. As the search continued, Kakashi began to lose hope. Unconsciously the man walked to the grave of his fallen comrade. Shock clearly registered as he noticed the box was sitting on the tombstone. "Oh, thank you, Obito. I guess I can take it as you approve," the man whispered. Unknowingly, his teammate had strolled behind him and heard. She wrapped her arms around his waist and leaned her head into his back. "Approve of what, Kakashi-kun?" "My proposal." "What proposal?" Rin stated, confusion radiating in her voice. The man took the box, turned around, and bent down on one knee. "This proposal, Rin, will you marry me?" She was utterly flabbergasted. It was evident that Rin was not expecting such a bold move from the shinobi. Tears welled up in her eyes as she shook her head up and down. After all, her voice seemed to not be working at the moment. Before Kakashi knew it, his mask was pulled down and Rin had quickly captured his lips. End of flashback. "Wow, that is pretty romantic, senpai," Iruka commented. A pregnant silence encompassed the three guys. Naruto soon broke it. "What is marriage?" Both men thought of how they could explain it, but Rin beat them to the punch. "It's when you find someone precious and you want to care for them. Simply put, Naruto-kun, it is a promise two people make to provide and protect one another until both one of them die. It also means that I belong to Kakashi and he belongs to me. We are forever bound to one another." "I see." The three present ninja watched as the wheels and cogs were turning in the blonde's mind. Rin knowingly smirked. Kurenai, totally unaware of the previous conversation, entered from the bathroom. She slowly walked up and noticed the silence, and the mischievous smile on her roommate's face. "What did you talk about?" the Genjutsu mistress demanded. Naruto was just curious, so I enlightened him. Rin smiled. The dark-haired woman turned to the boy and raised an eyebrow. Naruto noticed her quizzical stare and asked her, "Can I ask you something, Kurenai? Why is he using that at a time like this?" The two men questioned themselves. "What is it, little one?" After a moment of gathering the courage, Naruto finally spoke. "Will you marry me?" Kurenai stood there, perplexed by the question entirely. Rin just smiled at the blonde's naivety. After a moment of silence, Naruto spoke again. "What's wrong, Kurenai?" His question did little to ease the distress in her heart. "How do I answer this? Every answer can and will affect how our relationship proceeds. Not only that, but it could very well affect his entire life. If I say no, he could take it completely wrong and withdrawn into himself. If I say yes, my little one could become possessive instead of loving." Kakashi's fiancée soon realized her mistake. The price for her enjoyment of teasing seemed to have distressed Kurenai. Rin tried to quickly remedy the situation. Kakashi and Iruka, both men realized the meaning within her words. "Come, Naruto. Let's give her some time," Iruka said. "Okay." Confused by the tense atmosphere, Naruto eventually followed the older males out of the room. Once the door was closed, Rin flew to her friend's side. A sharp pain stabbed her heart as sobs filled the room. "What am I supposed to say?" The woman sobbed softly. "Every answer I can think of ends up backfiring." The brown-haired female held the other close. Eventually tears slid down her face as well. "I'm sorry, Ku-chan," she cried. They both sat in each other's embrace. With the three males, Naruto stayed silent as the three walked through town. "Did I do something wrong?" The two ninja understood the gravity of the situation, but decided to let Naruto break the silence. It wasn't until the trio reached a training ground that Naruto decided to finally speak. "I didn't fully know what I asked, did I?" The young boy sighed heavily. "You could say that," the silver-haired man stated bluntly. "See, can you explain this whole marriage thing to me? Every time I learn from Rin, I cause Kurenai trouble." Iruka looked to Kakashi. The other male was also in a conundrum. How could they explain what marriage was to a 6-year-old? 1 hour later. "Oh, I get it," Naruto confessed before continuing, "Actually I don't. I only understand a little." "Well, we tried," the older men thought. "I need to go apologize to her." Kakashi placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Leave her be for now. Give her some time to think things through. This is a very delicate subject for her." "Okay, if you say so." 1 month later, Naruto and Kurenai had yet to see each other since the wedding shower. That was to be expected because both of them were busy. She had missions and he had school. Ever since that night, Naruto pushed himself harder than he thought he could. I need to be strong enough to protect her. He hoisted Kageshin onto his shoulder. If I can't do that, then I do not deserve her. The blonde raised the blade high into the air. The very tip of the blade pointed towards the sky. He held it there for a while, seeping his chakra into the weapon. 5 minutes passed before Naruto opened his eyes and slashed downward. Kill it and slash. Debris burst from the earth as an invisible force sliced through it. A large boulder sat in the path of destruction and soon met its fate. The rock buckled, creaked, and then finally shattered into tiny pebbles. There, Kageshin, I did it, 100 times. Good, now get me out of the ground. Naruto laughed as he attempted to retrieve the blade embedded in the dirt. As he tried, the sun sank lower until it was almost completely hidden by the horizon. The full moon, however, was shining quite brilliantly. Suddenly the blonde froze, the scent of someone familiar assaulted his nostrils. Shatter, he whispered. Without a word Kageshin dispersed into a cloud of red mist. Once the mist had been absorbed, Naruto sat down on another large boulder, crossed his legs, and waited patiently. Kurenai stopped at the edge of the forest. Her breath caught in her throat as she gazed upon him. Was this a good time? Should she wait a little longer? No, I have made him wait long. Nah, I need to give him a reply, and pray that the outcome is a good one. She composed herself as best as she could. Bravely the woman strolled forward. Naruto could hear the nervousness in her steps. Before both of them knew it, the two were feet apart. Naruto. Upon hearing his name, the boy slid down the rock and faced Kurenai. Kurenai, he returned. The worry in those gorgeous blue eyes did not escape the perceptive female. Fear was clearly evident in her crimson orbs. Naruto wanted nothing more than to eradicate her insecurity. I am sorry it took so long to give you an answer, she began but was interrupted. Naruto had suddenly fallen to the ground, forehead pressed to the ground, legs tucked under, and hands placed on either side of his head. Kurenai was utterly shocked. Kowtow. Forgive me. I didn't understand exactly what it was that I asked you. I caused you pain and I am truly sorry for that. The boy took a ragged breath before continuing, and if it helps, you can forget that I even asked you to marry me in the first place. Kurenai could sense the hurt in his voice. Slowly she got on her knees too. Naruto, look at me. The blonde refused to lift his head, so she tried a different tactic. Little one, please, look at me. Naruto heard the pleading sound in her voice. Hesitantly he looked up. Once her eyes pierced into his, the male could not divert his gaze. A single tear rolled down her face. He wanted so much to wipe it away, but he was frozen. I do not know how to put this. I have had an entire month to think things through and even now, my words seem to be coming out mindlessly. All I want is the truth. What you say will never change how precious you are to me. The woman's tundra heart fluttered erratically. His comment had brought a light blush to her face. Encouraged by his words, Kurenai leaned forward. With gentle hands, she brought the boy into her arms. She hugged him, laughing lightly as she realized the tenseness in his body. Naruto was frozen, but as her scent bombarded his nose, he relaxed. The blonde male relished in the sense of security she provided. This was the one thing he could never forget. It was the feeling of her holding him. She was warm and he could remember this feeling for as long as he had been alive. Eventually he returned the hug. A few minutes passed as the two held onto each other. A low rumble vibrated his head as it rested upon the woman's collarbone. The boy then realized that Kurenai had spoken. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Again she found herself giggling. The boy had a dreamy sounding tone to his voice. I will give you my answer. Naruto responded by trying to back away so he could look her in the eyes. However, Kurenai refused to let him go. Since she apparently wanted him to stay there, he complied and relaxed again. Upon feeling him loosen up, the woman began to speak. I have thought long and hard. I wondered what would happen if I said yes, if I said no. At that the boy tensed. You are becoming a ninja and in the eyes of Konoha, upon graduating, you are considered an adult. Even though you may graduate fairly soon, there is an age difference between us. You are mentally and physically aging faster than a normal person. By the time you are 14, I would suspect that you would be as capable of more than any man out there. She let the information sink in. Right now I can say neither yes, nor no. Then how about later? Excuse me, she asked. Neither your age nor your rank matters to me. Rin told me that marriage is when two people want to protect and provide for one another. Both people obviously need to care for the other and be willing to spend the rest of their lives together. There are many things that I do not understand about this whole thing. However, you have been there for me since the beginning. I am only now barely capable to be there for you. All I know is that I want to protect you and I want to be there for you. You are someone that is really precious to me and I would gladly lay my life down for you. Whether they were tears of joy or sadness neither person knew, but Kurenai embraced the boy harder. Thank you little one. Then may I ask you something? He hesitantly queried. Go ahead. By the time I become a chunin, if you have not found someone more suitable, would you be willing to give me a chance? I will not ask you to marry me. But all I want is a chance to prove that I have become good enough for you. I think Kakashi called it courting or something. However, if you do find someone better by that time and he is not one of those types of guys, then I will leave you be. A pregnant silence drenched the two embracing people. Eventually Kurenai spoke. I can accept those terms. I have waited a long time to find someone with a heart like yours. A few or more years won't kill me. The boy jumped from her grasp and started cheering. Yosh, this is awesome. Well, there went that moment, Kurenai humorously contemplated. Now little one. He was too busy whooping to hear her. So she tried again. Little one. No response. Naruto. He quickly sat in front of her and listened. Then let's make this a promise. She stated holding out her pinky. After all, a man is only as good as his word. I like this woman already, Tenshuhando commented. Naruto followed suit and wrapped his finger around hers. It's a promise. They simultaneously said. They stayed, finger locked, for a few minutes. Neither released the other. They just simply relished in the rays of moonlight and in each other's company. As time trudged on, Kurenai suddenly found herself resting against the boulder, a blonde male sleeping on her shoulder. The crimson-eyed beauty rested her head upon his. An hour later. Hey fish cake, wake up. Shut up Tenshu, I'm sleeping. Yeah, but even though you're using Kurenai as a pillow, you both might catch a cold. The boy opened his eyes and found his blade was telling the truth. What should I do? I need to get back to the dorms before they lock them. I'll be in so much trouble. Don't panic boy, summon me. Okay. The double blade materialized before the couple. Grab my hilt. I believe you are ready for my second form. Second, Naruto thought out loud. Yes, I have a second form that is a lot easier to use than my first. Since you have progressed with my brother, you should be capable of handling the transformation. Transformation. Just pick me up already. Once his hand surrounded the hilt, both blades folded back towards his forearm. The circular guard extended down the blades and covered his right appendage. Then, without warning, the weapon squeezed down. Naruto grunted from the pressure but remained quiet. Tenshu then began to take the form of the blonde's forearm. Tribal markings engraved themselves into the steel. Within seconds the transformation was complete. Sky blue orbs scanned the arm. Tenshu had turned into a gauntlet. What does this form do? Pick up your princess and take her home. How can I do that? She's twice my size. Are you calling her fat? No. Naruto quickly tried to switch the conversation. So what exactly does this allow me to do? Focus chakra into the gauntlet. Then pick her up, take her home, and put her to bed. The ninja hopeful listened to his blade's words. Chakra visibly surrounded his right arm. Suddenly the silver covering pulsed and began to slither up the limb and across his chest. Eventually his entire torso and left arm was covered by the tribal decorated armor. As gently as he could, he moved Kurenai's head into the crook of his neck and lifted her bridal style. It was a rather silly image seeing the boy carrying the older woman. So your second form gives me strength. Yep, and when you get strong enough, you might even rival Tsunade's legendary strength. How do you know about Tsunade? Dear boy, all of 9 of us weapons are symbiotic. We become one with our wielder. We share memories, feelings, and all that other stuff. I see. Naruto took the route he always did to get to his old home. Thanks to Tenshu, the stunning female in his arms weighed almost nothing. As he ascended the stairs, she lightly purred in her sleep and nuzzled closer. By the time the apartment door came into view, Kurenai had curled up so much that it was difficult to hold her properly. Naruto then attempted to open the door with his foot. For any normal person, this task would prove to be difficult, however, within seconds the door glided open. The lights were often from the steady breathing of the apartment's occupants. Naruto could tell they were all asleep. He did not wait for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. Over the years, the boy had become extremely familiar with how many steps and in which direction he needed to travel to reach his destination. Kurenai, we made it to your bedroom. She grunted softly, refusing to return to the land of the conscious. Sighing, the male hesitantly opened her bedroom door. Stepping in, he was greeted by a rather unpredictable sight. One would think for a woman her age, that she would be a very tidy person. All of those assumptions were hot to pieces as Naruto gazed upon the room. Clothes littered one corner while scrolls occupied another. Royal purple bed sheets had been left clumped at the foot of the bed. Kurenai, you don't even make your bed. She isn't as neat as she used to be, he thought. Gently he laid her upon the bed, pulled the sheets over her body, and turned to leave. A hand suddenly gripped tightly onto the back of his shirt. Naruto's attention returned to the crimson-eyed beauty. The hand moved from his clothing to his hand. Relinquishing control over the appendage gave the sleeping woman the ability to grasp tightly onto his pinky. It's a promise, she lazily whispered. Of course, Kurenai, I will keep my promise to you. Upon hearing the reply, the sleeping woman smiled slightly and sighed. I can't believe she does this in her sleep. Naruto kissed her hand, placed it beside her, and left. After all, he had school tomorrow. Kageshin, the master called. Hi. I think it is time to really amp things up. Gladly. The next morning, Naruto and Lee were rushing to class, clothes in a mess and hair unbelievably wild. The poor males had only 5 hours of sleep the night before. They had stayed up a significant portion of the night to create a training regime, one that would force both males to their limits. Where are those boys? Iruka contemplated. In that instant, the blonde knucklehead burst through the doors. Panting heavily, Lee soon followed suit. Forgive me, sensei. The bushy-browed kid yelled. It's all right. Just take your seats. I was just about to start today's lesson anyway. Like the many lessons before, the children would sit quietly, and some were even brave enough or lazy enough in Shikamaru's case to fall asleep. Once the lesson was complete, Iruka took the children outside and gave them a little recess. They are technically still kids. This allowed them to stretch and rejuvenate for another long lesson. Lee walked over to Naruto. Yosh, Naruto. I can't wait to start training tonight. The boy yelled. Keep it down. Only you and me are supposed to know about it. We both need to get strong, graduate, and prove ourselves to the entire shinobi world. Yosh. Lee took off running around the area. The blonde smacked his forehead before chasing after his roommate. It soon became a game of one-on-one tag. Lee would usually win, but it was always fun to play while training. 3 sets of eyes watched the ninja wannabes. Iruka soon walked up to them and waited patiently for them to break the ice. Maida-san, which ones would you like to possibly train in the future? The taijutsu master thought for a moment before quietly saying. Rock Lee has a passion for the art. I want to make his dream come true. I would also like to train that girl with her hair in 2 buns. Her name is Ten. Iruka answered. She seems to have taken an interest in weaponry. And what about the third one? A sweet voice inquired. That little Naruto. I will teach him how to win like a true man. You're still bitter about losing to him, Kakashi stated more than asked. No. Denial, the other 3 ninja thought. What about you, Yuahi-san? The spandex-clad ninja inquired. The female Hyuga, the Nara boy, and possibly the boy from the Bug User clan. Shino is the last one's name. Why is that? Kakashi interjected. The parents of the Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji would not appreciate breaking up the traditional family trio. I know, but Hinata would be a good asset as a medical and support role. Shino, from what I have heard about the clan, will most like have a great recon and defensive ability. Genius nearly runs in the Nara family. Tacticians of their caliber would be essential for a recon team. What about you, my eternal rival? I am undecided. Kurenai and Iruka's sweat dropped and Guy was infuriated. Curse your hip and cool attitude, Kakashi. The silver-haired male just ignored the man and continued to read his book. Well, UESS, we will all have to wait to see how these children develop. Crimson eyes focused on one boy in particular. Upon feeling the eyes of another on him, Naruto turned to face the source. Determinatio. N flashed across his face and a smile covered his countenance. She returned the smile with equal vigor. Naruto moved his hand up and held out his pinky. Understanding the gesture, she followed suit. Become a great man, little one. And I will do my best to become a woman worthy of your affection. The blonde was thinking along the same lines. I will become greater than all those, sorry excuse for a man. I will prove myself to you. 6 months had passed since that revealing night. Naruto and Lee drastically changed in terms of strength. The thick-browed boy was well known as the fastest genin, his blonde roommate gained a similar reputation in the Department of Power. There was no academy student, even the Akamichi, which could match him. Naruto could even give almost all the genin in Konoha a run for their money. In other news, Kakashi and Rin's wedding date crept up on everyone. Even said bride and groom were not fully aware until the week before. Naruto had asked to be the best man, even though he had no clue what that meant. At first he had refused and said that Iruka should play the part. The scarred teacher stated that he was the one that would be giving the bride away and walking her down the aisle. On the other hand, Kurenai had been asked to be the maid of honor. Said crimson-eyed beauty thought it was just one of Rin's plans to tease her. After all, the sight of a full-grown woman being walked down the aisle by a 3.5-foot child would be comical to witness. The day of the ceremony arrived. Kakashi, nervous as ever, paced the room, almost leaving an indent in the floor. Kakashi. Yes, Naruto. The elder male stopped pacing. Why are you walking back and forth? Are you scarred? No, I'm nervous. The strongest ninja in Konoha is nervous. You wouldn't understand, Blondie. The boy pouted at the insult. I may not get this whole marriage thing, but still. You both care for each other, right? Kakashi nodded, intrigued by where this boy was going. You asked her to spend the rest of your lives together, protect her, and provide for her, right? Another nod signaled him to continue. And she said yes, right. Another nod and the blonde finished. Then what do you have to worry about? Excuse me. She said yes. Isn't that all that matters? Instantly the Junin flopped into a chair and sighed. He was right. A 6-year-old had put him in his place. Simplicity. I have been overthinking this whole thing. Thanks, Naruto-kun. The male visibly relaxed, and as time moved on, Kakashi was getting more excited. 20 minutes later, music pierced the air as the groomsmen and bridesmaids proceeded onto the stage. Flashes of light blinded all those in the procession, but no one faltered or fell. When Naruto and Kurenai appeared, people snickered to themselves before the camera flashes assaulted the couple. The young boy was just tall enough to be able to loop his arm around hers without it looking awkward. Once they reached the halfway mark, Naruto decided to whisper to the woman, "You look really pretty today, Kurheim." A blush adorned his face. She was slightly taken back by his words. In her eyes, the maroon cocktail dress was rather simplistic and regular. It wrapped around her shoulders, hugged her sides, and flowed down to her knees. There was not anything too outlandish or special about it. She wore little makeup, and her jewelry was at the bare minimum. Kurenai thought she looked just like all the other bridesmaids. After all, she could not stand out more than the bride. It was taboo. However, her blonde date thought otherwise. Thank you, little one. You are looking quite handsome. A light smile graced her ruby red lips. Naruto was wearing a black, pinstripe suit. A silver tie contrasted against an inverse-colored pinstripe vest. As they reached the stage, Naruto was a tad reluctant to release her. No one noticed due to the fact that the bride had just begun to ascend the aisle. 5 minutes later, Kakashi, still wearing his mask, turned to face Rin. Each placed a ring on the other's hand. I present to all here, Kakashi and Rin Hitaki. Kakashi, you may kiss the bride. Both shinobi closed the distance. Rin beginning to pull down his mask. Dynamic entree. The double doors in the back of the room burst from their hinges and a loud voice exclaimed. Kakashi. I must have misunderstood the time of the wedding. Maida Guy stopped mid-step. Everyone's eyes were upon the taijutsu master, disdain clearly visible upon their faces. Kurenai and Naruto were used to the man, so they completely ignored him and focused on the kissing couple. So that is what Kakashi's face looks like, the two onlookers thought. Naruto looked over at the female and then back to the kissing pair. The look on his face clearly stated, "What are they doing?" His naivety was something else. Kurenai returned with, "When you're older." Upon receiving that message, Naruto sighed. "They are always saying that to me." As Guy was being thrown out of the building, Naruto pulled out a camera from nowhere, and took the only picture of the ceiling kiss. 1 hour later, the after party started without delay and many of the guests had gone home. Naruto began to get sleepy and eventually rested his head upon his date's shoulder. Within seconds he was unconscious. Rin walked over to Kurenai. "It seems the little guy had a rough day." The newlywed stated. "Yay. Well, I have a honeymoon to attend. Kakashi and Iruka are delivering the gifts to our house. You can just put them in our room." "Okay. You said you'll be gone for how long again?" 2 weeks. My hubby is taking me to the tea country. They have open-air hot springs, massage parlors, dango shops. I'm getting the royal treatment. All right, no need to brag. Just make sure that I don't become an aunt too quickly now." Rin blushed furiously, but countered. "Well, my man knows how to kiss properly at least." Now it was Kurenai's turn to redden. The tease saying a lot even though he was a few months old. The woman commented quietly. "So you do acknowledge it was a kiss?" The older woman giggled at her victory. "Damn, I walked right into that one." Kurenai huffed, a little irritated. "All right, I need to get going. Got places to go, relaxation to experience." She paused before whispering to her closest friend, "and a man to tame." Once again the Chunin found herself blushing. "Just go already." She stuck out her tongue, retaining what little dignity she possessed. After Kakashi and Rin left, the Genjutsu mistress picked up the blonde male and heading towards the academy. 4 years later, Naruto was finishing up his training for the day. Lee had long finished and gone to eat dinner. The training ground lay in disaster. Trees had been uprooted, rocks pulverized into dust, and grass turned to a black crisp. "Hey Fishcake, what do you need, Kagishin? Shouldn't you be getting some rest? Your graduation test is tomorrow. I will be going to bed soon. Tenshu and I have a few techniques we need to practice." "All right, I will give you an hour. Any more than that and you may not be able to get out of bed." "Thank you." The next day, Naruto woke to the sound of Lee whooping. His excitement for the genin exam was ruining the blonde's morning already. "Lee," the roommate moaned, clearly exasperated, "keep it down. I'm trying to sleep." "But Naruto, the graduation exam is in 10 minutes. I can't wait to get to class." Unconsciousness was about to claim the 10-year-old until reality hit him. 10 minutes. Bed sheets flew into the air. Clothes soon followed. Naruto decided he would try on his new attire that had been purchased a few weeks ago. Hastily, a black spandex shirt was put on. A black, sleeveless vest followed next. He quickly closed the 4 metallic clasps that adorned the front. Each clasp was attached to a strap that wrapped around his torso, easily securing a giant, crimson scabbard upon his back. However, the sheath did not possess a sword. Lee found this odd, but decided to not voice his thoughts. Midnight blue pants were held up by a black leather belt. Upon said belt contained a belt buckle, fashioned into the shape of a silver wolf. Its lips pulled back into a ferocious snarl, almost daring anyone to challenge it. "Naruto-kun, don't forget your shoes," the dark-haired male called. "I am not going to use shoes anymore. Come on Lee, we need to get to the exam." "Race ya," Naruto stated before running down the hall. "Yosh." Lee was soon in pursuit. Both ninja wannabes sped down the hallway, out of the dorms, and across the courtyard of the academy. Eventually, Naruto jumped through the open classroom window. Quickly he closed it. A few seconds later, the blonde's roommate smacked into the pane of glass and slowly slid down the length of it. Naruto laughed until Iruka struck him on the head. "Don't do that to Lee." The Chunin screamed, what if he hurt himself? After his yelling spout, "Ow!" The spectators assessed the blonde's new attire. It looked cool, but it would probably cooler once he grew a little more. Not that he needed to grow any more. Naruto already stood a head or two above his classmates. The boy was easily 5 feet tall with light hair. The golden locks reached halfway down his neck. It was wild and gave the male a feral, animalistic look. Naruto broke their train of thought by shouting out the window. "Hey Lee, get up. A taijutsu master should be able to take such a small collision." The boy said, opening the window. "You are correct, Naruto-kun. By the way, well played. I had not expected you to close the window. I should be paying more attention to my surroundings." "See, he's fine." The scarred man sighed, shaking his head in the process. When would Naruto learn? Once the two new arrivals sat down, Haruka started explaining the process of the exam. "Now this year will be different than what used to take place for the graduation exam. We have 5 Junin level ninja visiting us today. They will be the proctors for the test. One will test you in ninjutsu, another in genjutsu, the third will be in taijutsu, and another will test you in kenjutsu." A girl raised her hand and waved it vigorously. "Yes, 10-10. The teacher asked, "What will the 5th Junin be testing us in? You already covered the 4 basic ninja techniques. If any of you manage to pass the test given by each Junin, the 5th will confront you in a one-on-one battle." Gasps and whispers quickly erupted from the classroom. After 2 minutes of trying to calm the children, Haruka activated his special jutsu. After 3 seals were completed, the man's head and voice grew to ridiculous proportions. Silence. Everyone instantly returned to their seats. The teacher's head returned to normal within seconds. "Thank you. Now, the final battle will be monitored by the Hokage himself. He will make the final decision about graduating from the academy." Haruka, the same girl from before, inquired. "Yes, 10-10. Will you be watching too?" "Sadly, I will not be able to watch your tests. However, I do not care whether you pass or fail. All I want you to do is try your hardest. Upon starting this exam, I will have to leave. Those 5 Junin will be entering soon. Be on your best behavior, children. It was an honor to teach you all. We'll pass for sure, Haruka-sensei." Lee yelled, saluting the older male. Naruto followed his loud roommate. Suddenly every student stood and saluted the man. Haruka smiled, saluted, exited, and prayed they would all succeed. "Fishcake." Tenshu alerted his wielder. "Yeah, someone is in the room with us, whoever he or she is, their chakra is powerful. Probably the first proctor." But Haruka said ninjutsu was first. "No, he didn't. He said that one proctor would test you in each of the 4 categories." Haruka never gave a specific order to the test. "Where is the person?" Naruto sniffed once, twice. "Perfume, it's a woman. And she is there." The blonde jumped from his seat at the back of the classroom. Haruka's desk was blasted to splinters upon the impact of his fist. A dark shadow slithered along the floor until away from its attacker. Eventually the darkness crept up from the floor. A woman with long purple hair soon appeared. "I guess you will be my first victim." Before Naruto could react, his world disappeared. A bleak darkness was all that welcomed his senses. Even though he could not see, the boy was able to tell that his location had been changed. He no longer felt the wood of the classroom floor under his feet. What he did feel was the sensation of grass, still wet from the morning dew. Once again, the female Junin appeared. 5 more of her soon materialized, forming a circle. "So, what is your name, little boy? Does everyone want a beating? Even I am starting to hate that word." Tenshu yelled, clearly frustrated. "Brother, I don't think anyone will learn from mere words. It's a taboo word for fishcake. They will. I'll figure it out once he beats the crap out of them." "What did you say?" The question erupted from his throat in a low growl. "You hard of hearing boy." The woman foolishly taunted. "What is your name, little boy? I heard you perfectly. I just wanted to see if you were brave enough to dig your grave even deeper." "What? Are you threatening me? I am in total control in this place. I create reality and bend it to my will." The blonde ignored the woman and prepared himself for the cancellation technique. "The most basic technique to dispel a genjutsu is to stop the flow of my chakra." "Or why? Oh, you can just overload the attacker's control by flaring your chakra, therefore making it harder for your opponent to control it," Kagishin announced. "I prefer option 2. Lowering his head, the boy gone to focus a good portion of chakra into his chest cavity. There, it was condensed until it could be compressed no further. "Brother, what is he doing?" Kagishin asked. "He is taking the fundamental of your kiloton slash and applying it to dispelling the genjutsu. The genius is condensing his chakra and is then going to unleash it all at once. This will create a shockwave of powerfully condensed energy. On cue, Naruto released his control over the dense ball of energy. The azure chakra burst from his body. Scorch marks littered the grass below, and the eerie blackness suddenly shattered to reveal the academy courtyard. 4 of the clones also vanished from sight. Heavy, labored breaths escaped the boy's mouth. The remaining chakra that resided in the air fluttered around its owner. The Junin quickly tried to re-establish another genjutsu. Why isn't it working? She yelled frustrated. It was then she noticed the dense chakra floating in the air. I can't establish my jutsu because I can't control that dense chakra. What is this technique? While the woman stood shocked at the revelation, Naruto moved his arm behind his back, grabbing the long sheath behind him. Tenshu, second form. High Master. Silver liquid flowed from the sheath and onto the appendage. Toes ground themselves into the soft dirt. With a burst of speed, Naruto was upon the perplexed woman. He propelled his fist forward. She had barely any time to respond. In a desperate attempt to block, she moved his forearm between the fist and herself. The other hand was placed behind the defending arm, giving her a little more protection. Welcome to your grave, the words barely audible to his opponent's ears. What? The Junin yelled. It was then she noticed the silver color to the boy's arm. The closer the fist came to contact, the more fear entered her heart. A resounding snap echoed throughout the clearing. The bone in her arm had been broken, at least in 3 places. Her body was rocket through the air and impacted the wall surrounding the academy. Spider web cracks formed around her body. Eventually the wall gave into the stress. It collapsed upon itself, burying the Junin. Naruto then walked away and back into the classroom. Once he entered, the young male noticed half of his class was gone. Lee saw the confusion and informed the blonde. We all passed the first exam. Back at the courtyard, Rin lifted the last piece of rubble from her Junin friend. Yugo, I told you not to call him little. I didn't know he was that strong. And what was with that gauntlet? Rin paused in lifting her friend. Gauntlet. Yeah, Yugo confirmed, cradling her broken arm. He did a number on me with that thing. Rin's hand hummed with calming green color. The other female remained completely still as the bone reset and healed. So you said Naruto was wearing a gauntlet. How many times do I need to tell you? I was just making sure I heard you right. Rin finished her administration. Where did he get that gauntlet from? Yugo thanked her friend before trying to leave. Wait, was there anything particular that you noticed about the weapon? Well, the only thing I can think of is that 1 second he didn't have it, then the next second he did. I never saw him equip it. I see, thanks Yugo. Be gentle with that arm. It is still a bit weak. The Junin nodded before shushing away. Interesting, a gauntlet that appears instantaneously. What else are you hiding from me, Naruto? Back with Naruto. Naruto watched as the number of children decreased over time. Suddenly a tall man, wearing green spandex, jumped into the room via the door. Come, my youthful test taker. I shall. Guy stopped upon seeing that the blonde kid was the only one left to test in taijutsu. Hello Guy-san. The boy viciously grinned. Shall we get started? The boy launched from his chair, leading off with a kick towards the head. Guy easily countered with a block with his left arm and a palm strike to Naruto's stomach. His small body rocketed back, bouncing off the desks and chairs. After everything settled, Naruto stood. Using his arm, he wiped the blood that had dripped down from his mouth. There we go. Time for round 2. Naruto dashed at the older male. Once he reached 2 feet away, the boy vanished. Guy sensed movement below him and made a quick stomp with his right foot. This left his legs spread enough for Naruto to make his move. After narrowly dodging the stomp, Naruto used his right hand to support his weight and then kicked out with both legs. The blonde's left foot shot Guy's right forward, while the right heel sent the older male's left foot backwards. Quickly, the 10-year-old spun to a standing position and back-flipped across the room. He watched in satisfaction as Guy performed a split. Upon impact with the floor, the man screamed and fell over, temporarily paralyzed. Now Guy-san, I want a better spar than last time. If you want to regain your pride, I'll be waiting for round 3 outside. Naruto jumped from the room, closing the window on his way out. The taunt sent the Junin into a pain frenzy. He struggled to pick himself off the floor. Using his strong sense of justice, Guy leapt after Naruto. However, he had forgotten the window was closed. A loud smack and screeching sound soon perforated the air. Really? I got Lee with that, but I did know. T expected Junin to do it, then again it is Guy-san. Suddenly the window shattered, along with bits of the wall. Naruto-kun. The man screamed, fire erupted from his eyes. I will correct your UNYOUTHFULNESS. About time. Naruto reached for the clasps on the front of his shirt. Once he undid the last one, the sheath and the vest slid off and created a crater in the ground. Guy looked on in fascination, but quickly turned serious. The blonde was already upon him. Both males blocked each other's punch and landed battling for dominance. Due to the height difference, Naruto was at a big disadvantage. A swift kick was sent towards ribs. The Junin released the fist to block the kick. This gave the ninja hopeful enough time to get in a strike. However, when his fist hit the man's stomach, it stopped dead in its tracks. A small snap was heard. Did I just punch a stone wall? Crap, I broke my finger. Don't worry master, I will fix it. Kagishin stated. The boy spun around and kicked out with his left leg. This made Guy release and jump away from the blonde. Though the punch earlier did not hurt too much. The boy obviously had more strength in his legs. At least from what he could tell. From the speed his opponent was capable of. Both males regained their footing. Tenshu. Naruto called punching both of his fists together. The silver liquid spread from his right arm to his left. Naruto struck them together once more, producing a tiny shockwave. Where did those gauntlets come from? Now the real fight begins. Naruto charged forward. Guy was ready. The first punch was thrown, but was deflected. The elder male grimaced as the gauntlet glanced his side. A small amount of pain entered the man's senses. I need to use more strength to deflect his blows. If that would have connected, my ribs would have been broken. One punch turned into two, then into five, and eventually all four arms became a mere blur. His attacks seem random, but they have a feeling of uniformity. What style is this? The man inquired while deflecting another few strikes. Suddenly Naruto slammed his left foot into the ground. The earth gave way and formed a small dent into the surface. Both fists were held by the boy's side. Suddenly the left fist came up into an uppercut motion towards Guy's stomach. Seeing the path, Guy slammed both hands down onto the fist. The power from the hit lifted the male about 8 inches off the ground. Naruto followed up by repeated his attack with his right side. However, this time, the hit connected with the man's stomach, fist twisting into the hardened abdominal muscles. Such power, the man whispered as saliva and a little blood flew from his mouth. Guy soon found himself skipping across the ground. After the fifth bounce, an arm shot out and stopped his movement. Good hit Naruto-kun. Your taijutsu is decent for your age, but you are not strong enough to beat me in taijutsu. The hand-to-hand combat specialist appeared before the blonde. A key. CK kick to the blonde's sternum sent the boy crashing through the school and back into the classroom. He was out cold. Lee greeted his roommate upon regaining consciousness. Yosh. Naruto-kun. It appears only 10 of us are left. What the dark-haired boy said was true. There were 9 other people beside him. One of them he recognized as 10-10, the others he had not cared to get to know. What 2 tests have you done, Lee? I have done the Kenjutsu and Genjutsu. You. Genjutsu and Taijutsu. I am wondering who will be awaiting me in my next test. Your next test Uzumaki is Ninjutsu. Follow me. A new voice broke the air. Hello Kakashi-san. The boy politely stated. The silver-haired man grabbed the boy and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Once gaining his bearings, Naruto found himself in a giant forest. Now, let's see how. Kakashi was not given much time to dodge the giant ball of fire. You little punk, a tick mark appeared on the man's head. You and I both know that I have no time to waste. I have an exam to pass. Quote. Of course, Doryuden. A dragon of earth burst from the ground, instantly firing off shards of rock. Said shards ripped through Naruto's body, but he turned into a plume of smoke. Kage Bushin. Where did he learn that? As if hearing the man's thoughts, the younger male informed him. I have seen you use it enough to figure it out. It was the only why you could get away from Rin to go buy your porn books. 10 clones of the blonde descended upon the man. K's no Yaiba. Variation. An 11th Naruto appeared in the middle of the clones. Kakashi W. Watched as the boy moved his hands behind himself. A blast of wind shot the boy at a breakneck speed. He's using the wind technique to increase his speed in midair. Impressive. The man jumped away just as the boy was about to land. He watched in amazement as the ground buckled and bent in on itself. A large crater formed upon impact. This might take some time, Kakashi sighed heavily. 30 minutes later, both males were standing in a clearing much larger than the one they had first arrived in. That is due to how much destruction they had both caused. Trees had been uprooted, grass burned to reveal the brown dirt below. Kakashi was hunched over, breathing heavily while trying to support himself on his knees. It seems you have gotten better. So have you. Naruto was in a worse condition. If this wasn't just a ninjutsu test, I would have lost a long time ago. The boy spoke. Still, you are very good for your age. I hope you make it to the 5th battle. With that said, Kakashi watched as the blonde collapsed. The man smiled, picked up the boy, and disappeared. Once he reached the academy, the 4th Junin greeted him. Yo Kakashi-san. Hey Hagane-san. Give the boy an hour. He'll be good as new and ready for the weaponry test. How did Ten do? My daughter passed with flying colors. She knew almost every trick in the book. I definitely taught her well. The man smiled. An hour later, Naruto woke to a poking sensation. As he became more aware, the poking turned to a painful prodding in his face. Then one heavy smack brought him to full awareness. A man with black hair held a sword over his shoulder. The hilt's bottom facing the blonde's head. What the heck was that for? The younger of the two questioned, rubbing his forehead. It's time for your 4th test. Prepare yourself, Uzumaki. Without another word exchanged, Naruto leapt away from the man and reached for the giant sheath on his back. His hand, however, grasped onto nothing. Where is my? Then he remembered. The item in question had been removed during his battle with Guy. Looking for this boy, the unknown man questioned. In his possession was the sheath Naruto had been looking for. It's quite heavy. You think you can fight with this on? Naruto just glared at the man. Surprise covered his countenance as the sheath was thrown to him. Instantly all the clasps sealed themselves and the blonde welcomed the familiar weight. Kageshin, you're up. The whisper was not heard by the opponent. Hi master. This man is going to be difficult. His stance is that of a master class. Then let's do the best we can. Kageshin's hilt materialized into the sheath, and with one quick pull, was removed. The black blade glistened in the sun. A Nodashi. Interesting weapon for an academy student. Can we get this over with? I have another battle I need to attend. Do not focus too much on the future, Uzumaki. It may cost you the present. I will take that into consideration, Master Class San. Naruto nodded. You are very observant. Quote. Enough talking, let our blades do the talking. I couldn't agree more. The bigger male stated, smiling. Naruto swung the blade down, already expecting the Junin to charge forward. His guess proved right as a spray of sparks littered the air. They sat there for a moment, fighting for dominance. The sword master easily diverted the Nodashi into the ground. Fish cake. He has a second sword. Tenshu called. He was right. The man had a second sword attached to his left side. Upon noticing the blade still tucked into its sheath, the man pulled it and swiped horizontally. Since Naruto had no way of dodging successfully, he released Kageshin and jumped back. His shirt taking all the damage. Man, I just got these new clothes. It is foolish to leave your weapon in the care of the enemy. The younger male paid the man no heed. Reaching into his kunai pouch, he unleashed 5 of them at his opponent. Hagane attempted to lift the Nodashi, but halted. Upon grabbing the hilt, he noticed something odd about the weapon. The more he thought, the more he couldn't figure it out. It would be dishonorable to use my opponent's blade. He finally whispered more to himself. Hagane jumped back, avoiding the kunai completely. Naruto took that instance to appear next to his blade. What happened, Kageshin? He said it would be dishonorable to use his opponent's blade. I think he is a swordsmith too. His grip felt strong and battle-worn. I believe this man might have figured out something about me. Well, let's focus on the battle for now. Come boy, I want to see what you are capable of. Naruto ripped Kageshin from the ground and charged forward. Sparks flew, small cuts were received on both people, and Naruto was wearing down quickly. I don't know how much more I can take. The boy blatantly stated aloud. Then let's finish this with one last attack. Both swordsmen nodded. Hagane brought sheathed both blades, one on his right, the other on his left. He pumped a lot of chakra into the swords and clicked them from their confinements. All the while, Naruto raised Kageshin above his head. Suinryu. Hedohanto. Killatin slash. Hagane drew both blades and swung them in an X pattern. Naruto brought his sword down with all his might. Both attacks tore the ground to shreds, and upon meeting, exploded in a shockwave of chakra and debris. He whirled flashed to white and then all was still. When Naruto's eyes focused, he found himself standing next to Lee and Tenten. All 4 proctors were before them and the Hokage himself was there. The eldest male spoke, his voice rumbling with pride. Congratulations on becoming Genin, the Hokage stated with a smile. From now on you will be known as Team 10, and your Junin sensei will be made a guy. Just great, Naruto thought sighing. Yosh, Lee exclaimed. Why me? That green spandex suit will haunt me forever. Naruto decided to voice his opinion. What about the 5th battle? Excuse me. Sarutobi blinked a couple times in confusion. The 5th battle Iruka-sensei told us about. Who do we get to fight? Of course Naruto would want to fight. Kakashi sighed, but smiled. There. It really wasn't going to be a 5th fight. It was a tactic to motivate you. Damn, I want my 5th fight. The boy complained pouting. Alright, if you are so eager to have a 5th one, then I will fight you. The Hokage chuckled. Naruto stared at the man as if he was crazy. But you're, old. Everyone face planted. Sarutobi was quick to recover. I may be old but boring. The blonde interrupted. Let's fight. Naruto hastened into a stance and charged. The elderly man was forced to quickly discard his robes and adorn his battle gear. Naruto jumped high into the air and initiated a sequence of hand seals. A large plume of smoke burst from his body, effectively covering his attack. Suddenly a section of the cloud lunged forward. Before Sarutobi knew it, a beautiful blonde woman fell on him. The weight of the girl slammed him to the ground and knocked the wind out of him. Maida Guy's jaw dropped the ground, Kakashi merely blushed, and Yugo just stood in a stupor. Hagane shook his head and covered the other 2 genins' eyes. Oh Hokage-sama, the woman purred. Thank you so much for catching me. Said ninja finally looked at the blonde woman. Blood rose to his face and elsewhere. Sitting upon his chest was a naked woman, with her assets precariously covered by a thin layer of smoke. Her eyes were a deep blue and her body was an 18 on a scale from 1 to 10. Damn smoke, he thought. For catching me, I will give you the royal treatment. The vixen purred again with a mischievous glint to her eyes. That was the final push. Blood erupted from the man's nose and he soon lost consciousness. A puff of smoke covered the beauty and Naruto stepped out with a peace sign. Warroke no Jutsu was a success. He smirked. Naruto 2, Hokage 0. Wait, Naruto has beaten the Hokage twice now. Everyone thought. The boy continued to smile, before looking at his pinky. Just you wait Kurheim. I have one more rank to go now. Naruto had become a genin only a month ago. I's training was intense and the D-rank missions were absolutely terrible. The boy walked down the street, his bare feet barely making a sound. Guy had dismissed the team only to go off training. Lee eagerly followed the Junin. I won't be surprised if Lee starts wearing green spandex and shouting about youth. Just as long as he doesn't get that stupid bowl haircut. A giggle broke his thoughts. Blue eyes shifted to the corner of their sockets. Crimson eyes stared right back. A gentle fragrance assaulted him, and he visibly relaxed. Kurheim, Naruto whispered with a gentle smile. Hello little one. The beautiful woman greeted. My, how much are you going to grow? In a couple months or so I might be looking up to you. It was true. Naruto was almost capable of looking Kurenai right in the eye. His chin easily reached her collarbone. After measuring him with her hand, she analyzed his attire. An empty nodashi sheath, an armor-like vest with 4 silver clasps, black spandex undershirt, dark blue pants. Black belt with silver buckle. A wolf. She pondered then spoke aloud, no shoes. I learned that sandals can prevent you from being able to feel your surroundings. It allows me to feel the vibrations in the grounds and many other things. It also sometimes helps me be able to detect genjutsu. Plus I prefer to run around without shoes. I see. The two began to walk in silence. A ramen stand came into view and simultaneously both ninjas' stomachs rumbled. Ramen? The blonde questioned, hopeful she would agree. Only if you behave yourself. Naruto knew what she was implying. Last time, the blonde had overenthusiastically devoured 10 bowls of ramen. He had the decency to blush in embarrassment. Okay, I'll try. Kurenai smiled. Upon reaching the stall, Naruto called out. Old man, I require some grub. Well, if it ain't my best customer. How's it going, Fishcake-kun? Naruto slapped his head, his two symbiotic blades had laughed. After the laughter had died down, the boy glared at the kind old man. Oh, I didn't mean any harm, Naruto. Tell ya what, I'll give ya a bowl on da house. Really? You rock, old man. Kurenai smiled at the elderly gentleman and mouthed a thank you. He gave a nod in reply. Since he was done teasing the boy, he turned his attention to woman. So Naruto, what can I get for our beautiful girlfriend? The blonde surprisingly did not respond as the man had expected. She would like a regular miso with shrimp. He stated with a straight expression, completely ignoring the comment. At least he remembers my favorite ramen. Within seconds, both had been served by the owner's daughter Ayane. So what's going on, Kurheim? Not that I mind us getting lunch together, but you obviously have a reason for meeting me. He's perceptive. She thought before choosing her next words carefully. I am going to participate in Junin exams that are coming up. When and where? They are being held in a week's time, in the village hidden in the sand. And, he questioned further, would you like to come with and watch? Though you will only be able to see the second part of the exam. Why is that? I am not able to divulge any information to you about it. Only those attending the exam are allowed to know. Truth be told, even I have not been told exactly what is going on. She stated, worry clearly evident in her voice. You'll pass. It was simple, it was direct. And Kurenai liked it. Her confidence significantly rose. As they slowly enjoy their ramen, the two ninja made small talk. It focused on Naruto's basic schedule as a genin. And Kurenai's repetitive missions as a chunin. Anyway, the Hokage has already arranged for your team to have a diplomatic mission to Sand. It's a C-ranked mission, and since you will be traveling with 2 chunin and 3 junin. Hokage approved for your genin team to do the mission. A C-ranked mission. Awesome. When do we leave? When? Once again she giggled at his childish antics. They totally contrasted his 14-year-old looking body. In 2 days. We will head out. By the time you finish your mission, the tournament portion of the exam would be beginning. Man, I want to go now. After his excitement decreased, he spoke again. So who are the other Chunin and Junin? Well, I don't know much about the Chunin, but the Junin are going to be Uchiha Itachi and Kakashi. Itachi. I haven't seen him in a while. That is because he has been in Anbu. It wasn't until about a year or 2 ago that he resigned to become a Junin. So he might end up teaching Sasuke. Possibly. But from what I have heard, a lot of clans' heirs are going to be participating in the graduation exam next year. Naruto thought for a moment. That would mean they get to take on the 4 Junin like he did. So they will have a test similar to mine. Kind of. Hokage told me that he wanted to gauge how fast you have improved. He knew that you and Lee would train daily for hours, and 10T. N was exceptionally well-rounded for her age. Wait, so the test was created specifically for my team? He questioned. I guess so. Didn't you find it odd that most of the people you fought, you were familiar with? Yeah, but I don't know who that purple-haired woman was. Nor do I remember that Kenjutsu master. Well, Yugo has actually been the one who has been keeping tabs on you during your academy years. She was the reason you advanced through the classes so quickly. That would explain why he was in a class of 12-year-olds when he was only 10. And apparently she was not able to detect or see us. Tenshu commented. Why is that? Upon summoning me, she was quite surprised. I see, he whispered. The flaps to the entrance of the stall moved, notifying the 2 ninja. Without turning around, Naruto addressed the newcomer. Welcome, Itachi-san. It's been a while. A rare smile adorned the older nin's face. Hello, Naruto. Congrats on graduating so early. The blonde nodded in thanks as the man sat down. Kurenai also greeted her superior. Looking at the time, she decided to leave to prepare her things for a long trip. She placed her hand upon the blonde's shoulder, gaining his attention. I need to get prepared for the upcoming exam. I will see you later. Naruto quickly placed his hand upon hers, keeping her there. Do you need any help? She smiled before answering. I will be fine. You can catch up with Itachi-san. After all, you haven't seen each other in years. With that said, the woman exited the stand. Naruto then turned his attention to the Junin. So what have you been doing? Well, technically, I am not allowed to divulge this information, but I know I can at least trust you. The man paused, checking his surroundings. It seems that the samurai are aiming to make peace with shinobi. Naruto was shocked. He had heard the fearsome tales of samurai. Of those who could decimate a squadron of ninja all by themselves. Do you know why yet? The blonde questioned. No, even with all my skill I was never able to enter the capital city. All my information if based on rumors I heard. Due to the consistency between all the rumors, it all seems to be legitimate. Now the boy was extremely flabbergasted. Even Itachi, the prodigy who became an Anbu captain by the time he was 13, could not even get close enough. What could the samurai nation possibly want with the ninja villages? So they want to become allies with all ninja, or are they aiming for a ceasefire truce? From what I gathered, they are aiming for a ceasefire. Not only that Naruto, but they are also specifically asking for Konoha. No other nation seems to be of interest to them. Based upon the influence shown to the samurai, they may sign an alliance. That in of itself could change the entire world as we know it. Exactly, Itachi whispered, watching the genin think over the information he had just received. 2 days later, Naruto was ecstatic, excitement clearly evident based upon the pacing back and forth. Lee soon joined his former roommate. Seeing the two males' restlessness, Tenten was about to join them until a large plume of smoke appeared. As Kurenai had stated, 3 Junin candidates stood next to 3 Junin. The blonde genin smiled warmly at his red-eyed companion. It was then that the genin noticed the other 2 Chunin. 2 familiar faces greeted them. Uruka-sensei. Tenten exclaimed. Rin. Naruto proclaimed. Both of them smiled at the young ninja. Yosh, the flames of youth burn brightly today. Guy shouted. Shut up. It's 6 in the morning. A woman screeched from her window. A frying pan soon connected with Guy's head and he was out cold. Kakashi, face in his trademark book, grabbed the man's leg and began to drag him. Let's go. We have a Chunin exam to watch and a mission to complete. The open pervert droned. Itachi silently followed the silver-haired nin. Naruto got in line, Lee on his left and Tenten on his right. Then the Chunin got behind the genin. It took half of the trip for Guy to awaken. Once the spandex-clad man realized his position, he began to spout out the usual nonsense. Yosh, Kakashi, my eternal rival, has sought to make himself stronger by using my body as a weight. For that I will. Shut up and walk on your own. Kakashi commented. Curse you and your cool and hip attitude. The man started to engross himself further into his book. Said pervert felt the killing intent of 3 pissed-off kunoichi. However, he ignored everyone and continued on the path. The trip lasted a couple days. It would have gone faster. But there were genin among the group. They did not have the capabilities of an experienced Chunin or Junin. By the time the group had arrived at Sunagaku, everyone was tired and ready for a long night's rest. However, Guy's team had a mission to complete first. Naruto and Lee followed the spandex-clad Junin while Tenten trailed behind. A large building loomed over Team 10. From what they could tell, this was the structure that contained the Cage, the leader of Suna. The blonde ninja soon found himself in front of 2 large, red doors. This must be the Cage's office. A rather small man greeted the 4 Konoha ninja as they entered. Guy returned the greeting and got down to business. What is it that you require of us, Cage-sama? There are 2 people I need you to escort. They are currently hiding in the near the western border of my country. Both of them are skilled but they have been fighting off hunter nins for quite some time. All I need for you to do is to go into the territory. Find them, and bring them back safely. Here is a scroll with any other needed information. A black scroll was exchanged to the Junin. When do we leave Cage-sama? Soon. This mission is of great importance. I will send a tracker nin with you so that it will be easier to find the 2 shinobi and so that you may have a guide to follow back to Suna. The desert is constantly shifting. This makes it hard to determine where exactly you are. Once you cross the border you will be relatively safe. Good luck. All four ninja nodded and walked out of the office. Let's get this mission done quickly, Naruto stated. Yosh, let us hurry my comrades. The oldest male shouted joyfully. Naruto-kun's flames of youth burned brightly. Tenten smacked her forehead as three males leapt to the designated entrance exit. 2 hours later, the Konoha ninja, being led by a sand chunin, flew over the shifting sands. From what Guy had found out, they were in search of 2 former mist nins. One went by the name of Momochi Zabuza while the other remained a mystery. The taijutsu master knew only a little of the mentioned male. He was a former member of the 7 Sword-ds Men of Mist and he wielded a giant blade that was nearly as tall as himself. This sounds like a man I would like to face, Tenshu stated. Right now though, we should probably not do so. He has more experience and a bigger stature, the blonde retorted. The sand nin's voice soon broke the boy from his thoughts. Another hour and we will reach the targeted area of extraction. Suddenly a shockwave blew past the group. It was soon followed by another. A battle was obviously occurring. Guy grabbed a hold of his students and the guide. A surge of power blasted the sand from underneath the massive man. Yosh, let's get there to save the day. All 5 people vanished in an instant. A wave of sand was sent flying in the opposite direction of the battle. 5 minutes later, a masked nin with long black hair dodged a kunai before freezing the attacker in a block of ice. They just don't give up. I hope Zabuza-sama is alright. The person did not have any more time to think. A squad of shinobi jumped over their frozen comrade to engage the rogue ninja. Expertly the missing nin maneuvered through the attacks and killed 2 of the attackers with a few senden needles. The last 3 were able to restrain the Kekkei Genkei user. One restrained the hands, another the feet, and the third struck a knee into the captive's stomach. All the air from the lungs was expelled, which in turn elicited a high-pitched squeak. I guess this is where it ends. The ninja who need the person paused for a moment. To prove his wordless inquiry, the dark-haired man lifted the mask off. What greeted him was a flawless porcelain face. The male soon found himself blushing at the beauty of the girl beneath him. Whoa-ho-ho gentlemen, the man laughed. We got ourselves a pretty one. Who would have thought that the oh-so-great demon of the mist would be lugging around this pretty little thing? The other 2 males laughed. Once again the shinobi moved to touch the girl, however, he soon nd his upper body falling away from his pelvis and legs. A giant sword had cleaved right through all 3 of the assailants. Blood soon blanketed the area. Haku, a deep voice rumbled. I taught you better than to get caught. Forgive me Zabuza-sama. The sword-wielding man turned around, not wanting to show the worry on his face. Let's get going. We do not know how many more fools have been sent after us. It appeared as though irony just had to show its ugly face. As Haku returned to her feet, 10 unknown shinobi appeared, surrounding the 2. Oh for the love of, Zabuza cursed, but was cut off by a green blur. Here I come to save the day. The spandex-clad Junin yelled. Upon his arrival, Guy dropped the passengers onto the ground. Naruto and Lee both wobbled around, totally disheveled from the high-speed traveling. Tenten on the other hand, decided to relieve the contents of her stomach. The sand nin gained his bearings quickly and moved into a taijutsu stance. That man is ridiculously fast. Is this the kind of power Konoha has at their disposal? Zabuza glared at the new arrivals. Where had he seen the description of the man before him? They call me Maida Guy. Savior of the innocent and loved by all. Prepare for the wrath of youth. All those present sweat dropped. Once both young men had gained their balance, Naruto smacked his forehead while Lee ogled at his awesome sensei. The blonde moved quickly to the side of Haku, but was intercepted by a massive sword. Tenshu instantly materialized to block the weapon. The gauntlet barely made it in time to stop the blade from severing the arm and possible his torso. He withstood my blade. Those gauntlets must be pretty special. Even if I was not using my full strength, it is still an amazing feat to survive a blow from Kubikiribocho. It is not wise to jump towards someone you have never met before. Momochi Zabuza, aka Demon of the Mist, former Junin of the Mist, now an A-ranked missing nin. Naruto listed off all he knew. Zabuza chuckled lightly. This boy intrigued him. What's your name, boy? Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konoha. I am here to make sure you arrive safely to Sunagaku. Konoha sent mere genin. What is that Hokage thinking? The tall man thought. Haku, however, was along a different line of thinking. Konoha. That is where I believe the Ice Queen lives. This boy may know where I can locate her. Everyone's musings were cut short as the 10 enemy ninjas simultaneously attacked. Naruto moved back to back with the tall male. Kageshin materialized. Naruto's teammates instantly thought the same thing. Where did he get that blade and how long has he had it? 3 threw shuriken, which Zabuza deflected effortlessly with his blade. Another 2 jumped from the blonde's left. Quickly he moved the tip of Kageshin into the hole of the Kubikiribocho. Then, swinging his arms in a wide arch over his head, both swords converged on the 2 assailants. Zabuza's blade cleaved. D threw the defending kunai and the wielder, effectively killing the man. Naruto's blade, however, sliced through the arm and into the torso. The first attacker's blood covered the sword and most of the ground, whereas the second did no bleed a drop. Kageshin, what's going on? The demon container asked. Just an ability of mine. Tell everyone to duck and swing me horizontally. Naruto whipped T. He blade from the corpse before hefting the blade on his shoulder. Everyone down. The 10-year-old ordered. Both the Konoha and former Mist Shinobi instantly dived to the ground. Upon seeing the others dive down, the Sand Nin also complied. Kageshin swung from its perch, guided by its wielder. As the blade flowed through the air, a crimson liquid sprung off the sword. The length of the cutting DGE extended from its normal 4-foot length to a shocking 20 feet. 5 more attackers found themselves sliced in half. Now I have enough blood, stab me into the earth. Hi. Naruto followed the blade's instruction. As the sword moved towards the ground, the blood gathered from the 5 slain ninja streamed to the pommel. Finally the ground was pierced. Tendrils of crimson soon sprouted from the ground, effectively impaling the remaining attackers. I will talk to you again when you wake up. Kageshin informed. What? The boy thought out loud, before his world faded to black. A day later, Naruto woke to a worried Rin. The blonde could tell from the way she was pacing back and forth. It's just not possible. How does? Even with all her medical knowledge, the Junin could not determine what had caused the boy to calisp. She turned her gaze to the now conscious boy. Oh, Naru-kun, you're finally awake. She grabbed the boy into a hug. Hello, Rin. No need to worry, I am perfectly fine. How? She gripped his shoulders tightly. When Guy brought you back? Naruto saw tears forming at the edges of her eyes. What happened? Your body was almost completely devoid of blood. Rin's voice was barely above a whisper. But he had heard her loud and clear. Kageshin, what in the world did you do to me? The boy glared at the sword as it sat against in the corner of the hospital room. Forgive me, master. I am capable of taking an opponent's blood and using it for an attack. However, since I am created from your blood, I have a limited amount of control over a specific volume of another's blood. That last attack you used, which is called Spears to the Heavens, required me to use a lot of blood in your body. Kageshin then decided to vaporize and return to its wielder. Instantly the blonde was filled with energy. I see. Naruto returned his attention to Rin. There is no need to worry now. I am fine and that is all that should matter. Just to make sure, the experienced medic did a quick scan. She was surprised to see that his blood levels were above the normal amount. Especially when the boy had been functioning on only half the necessary amount about 10 minutes ago. This is not normal, the woman thought. It was then she noticed that the sheath no longer contained the giant Nodashi. What the? When will Kurenai be fighting in the tournament? Your princess will have her first match tomorrow at 10 in the morning. They just recently finished the first part of the exam. Rin stopped as Naruto got out of bed. After the genin was fully dressed, she continued. I am sorry to say, but you cannot go and see her. She is in pretty bad shape and she requires a lot of rest. Right now, there are 3 medic nins watching over her. Naruto, who is almost out the door, froze mid-step. They found a nasty poison running through her system. I was able to get it out, but I do not know exactly how it has affected her body. She silently got up and placed a hand on his shoulder. I will make sure she is perfectly healthy for her fight tomorrow. I promise. Thank you, Rin. Please don't overwork yourself. Kurheim is strong. She will get better and obtain the rank of Junin tomorrow. That much I know is certain. The boy exited the room completely, hoping to find somewhere to train. Rin left the area and returned to her best friend's side. A heart monitor beeped every once in a while. But then the room would fall silent. He has so much faith in you, Kurenai. Do not disappoint your man. She smiled. Rin worked throughout the rest of the day and a few hours into the night. By the time midnight came, Kurenai was up and moving around. After a good stretch, the crimson-eyed female went for a short walk in the hospital courtyard. Little one, tomorrow, I will show you how strong I have become. Also, you will have to get stronger so that you can actually protect me better than myself. The woman giggled to herself. She suddenly remembered the words the boy had stated a few years back. All I know is that I want to protect you and I want to be there for you. You are someone that is really precious to me and I would gladly lay my life down for you. Naruto was definitely going to become a decent man. Once he reached Chunin, she would give him the chance he deserved. Now that is only assuming that a proper suitor does not enter her life before then. I have a big day tomorrow, promotion, here I come. She smiled before returning to her room, and instantly fell asleep. The arena erupted in cheers as the 10 Chunin entered the area. Naruto gazed at Kurenai, who stood on the far left. As his eyes shifted over the other contestants, the blue orbs stopped on another woman ninja. Her short purple hair was pulled back into a ponytail. The woman possessed light brown irises and her choice of clothing was rather, you could say, lacking. A fishnet shirt covered her torso along with a tan corset-like shirt. On her arms and legs were standard shin and forearm guards. A small, black belt held up short dark brown mini skirt. Also, some fishnet leggings descended down her leg to about her mid-thigh. To complete the ensemble, the mysterious woman wore a short-sleeved trench coat. Judging by the look the males were giving her, the blonde genin could instantly tell what kind of man they were. It was then that he noticed that all the other fighters were male. And this fact made him worry for his precious Kunoichi. A few of the men turned and looked at Kurenai with lust clearly in their eyes. Any of those men even try to feel her up. I will slit their throats. Naruto glared at the men. The trench coat-clad woman noticed the look that some blonde in the stand had given to the woman on the other end of the line, and the men in between. Seems like we have a lover. I just might have to have some fun with that little creature down there. She wickedly smiled while passing a glance at the red-eyed beauty. Kakashi, as well as Rin, took note of the look on the Chunin's face. Both instantly thought the same thing. Let's hope she does not fight Kurenai. Naruto will have a fit and possibly even interrupt the fight. That would negate her chance of being promoted. As the proctor went through the rules of engagement, Kakashi walked over to Naruto. Placing a hand on the boy's shoulder, the older male gained his attention. Yes, Kakashi? Naruto inquired. Promise me you will not interrupt any of Kurenai's fights. What? Calm down. If you interfere, Kurenai will be forced to forfeit her match and lose her chance at a promotion to Junin. Choose your next words carefully, Fishcake, Tenchu warned. What do you mean? Naruto questioned, but after receiving no answer, he answered Kakashi. Fine, I will not interfere with any of her fights. Even if she is being severely beaten. This caused the boy to pause. Could he truly stand there and watch her suffer? The more he thought about it, the more he got angered. The gravity of this premise caused him to grip the railing that surrounded the stands. An audible groaning of metal vibrated in the ears of those close to the blonde. With anger clearly in his voice, Naruto nodded his head and sealed his fate. I promise. Thank you. The silver-haired ninja responded. I just hope that does not happen. I know it will if Kurenai fights that other woman. Suddenly a hand gripped Naruto's shoulder. Following the appendage to the owner's face, the Konoha genin found himself looking into the eyes of one Momochi Zabuza. Relax, Gaki. I know she will be fine. Clearly Zabuza had overheard the conversation between the two. But how do you know? The question was barely a whisper. Hey, if there is a genin as strong as you going after that woman, that means she must be strong as well. The shirtless man commented. Thank you, Momochi-san. No problem, Gaki. Just so you know, Haku and I will be returning with you to Konoha. Really? What for? Asylum and Haku would like to meet that woman of yours. The so-called Ice Queen of Konoha, I believe that is what she is known as. That is correct. But the blonde was cut from speaking as the proctor announced the first match. First match. Enko vs Marushi. So that is her name, Kakashi, Rin, and Naruto thought. At this announcement, Naruto returned to the seat beside his teammates. The other Junin hopefuls removed themselves from the fighting area. Hajime. The instant the proctor's hand sliced down, the female known as Anko threw down some smoke bombs. A thick blanket of purple smoke instantly covered the fighting area. It took several minutes for the smokescreen to dissipate, but when it did, the crowd wished that it hadn't. The male combatant stood there, arms dangling by his side, head craned upward with a blank expression on his face. Mouth open in a silent scream, and covered in black vines. Upon closer inspection, Naruto realized that those vines were actually the man's veins. That could mean only one thing: poison. Fear for his precious princess increased drastically. He prayed and hoped that Kurenai would not have to face this Anko person. Naruto's attention switched to the woman. She was looking straight back. Movement by her arm shifted his attention. A tail with scales slithered disappeared into the sleeve of the trench coat. At least he knew it was some form of reptile. You better get him treatment. He'll die in a few minutes if you don't. The woman's silky smooth voice broke the proctor from his stupor. Medics, he yelled. Code green. The medic nins instantly appeared and injected the man. Attempting to slow the poison's spread, they slowed down his heart and then began to try and extract the poison. As they carried him away, his body visibly started to relax. The pain was subsiding. Naruto then began to determine this mysterious woman's abilities. Anko left the fighting arena and returned to the waiting booth. The next match was called. It turned out to be Kurenai's turn. And she was facing the other Chunin that had traveled with the group. The man had kept to himself, and rarely did he even do anything for that matter. Black hair cascaded down the man's face, effect 4. Ely covering his eyes and most of his nose. A smile spread across his face, and for the first time that entire trip his voice exited his mouth. It is truly an honor to face against the famous Ice Queen of Konoha. I just hope you are as much as a challenge as they say. Haku's ears perked up. So this was the supposed Ice Queen. She was amazingly beautiful. She was more than anything the young Miss Ning had ever heard of what a queen looked like. I wonder what her bloodline is. After my people were massacred, it is good to know that the queen is still alive. He was arrogant, that much Kurenai could tell. However, she would not let herself be irritated by the male's comments. The victor of a battle is the one who remains calm and uses wit rather than strength. The red-eyed beauty fell into a standard taijutsu stance. Upon seeing both combatants ready, the proctor signaled for the battle to begin. Hajime. The male charged forward, his fist cocked back, ready to deliver the first hit of the match. She quickly placed her elbow up, hitting the joint of his arm. All the force from the punch was transferred into said joint. Kurenai then proceeded with a sweep kick. The man barely jumped in time to dodge it. She used her momentum to send another kick up towards her opponent's face. Since he was still airborne, the attack sent him flying back. Upon hitting the ground, the Konoha ninja rolled, transferring the force. I see your taijutsu is pretty good, he stated, flicking his hair out of his face. Red pupils caught Kurenai's attention. In Uchiha, she contemplated the possibility. Well, even if he is not, I must proceed with caution. I can cast some low-level genjutsu to make sure. Still, for now I will conserve my energy. Shinji. What? My name. It's Shinji. Just though. UGHT, I would let you know the name of the man who will defeat you. He's arrogant, and that one familiar trait of an Uchiha. She thought with disdain. Suddenly Shinji began to form seals faster than she could keep up with. He ended in the tiger seal and held a hand to his mouth. A fire jutsu. A giant fireball came hurtling towards her. Quickly, she removed a scroll from her weapon's pouch. With a little chakra she opened it and placed her hand down on a kanji that said, water. Instantly, liquid burst forth, forming a massive pillar. The maelstrom of churning water headed straight for the inferno. As the two collided, water drenched the arena and a hot vapor filled the air. Kurenai then began forming a few seals and grabbed a couple of kunai. This barrier helped her stay hidden and give her enough time to formulate a strategy. Suddenly another fireball came hurtling through the dense mist. This time she was forced to dodge. As the attack collided with the wall of the arena, the shock K-wave blew away most of the sight-hindering vapor. Now the two were able to clearly see each other. Now was the time to put her plan into action. Kunai at the ready, the woman charged. With a flick of Her wrist she threw one of the 6 kunai she held. Shinji sidestepped, the knife flying harmlessly by and plunged into the ground slightly behind him. There's chakra on those kunai. She must be trying to increase its cutting power. Or she has a genjutsu on them. Shinji contemplated. Another kunai was sent at him, but he deflected it to the left with his own tool. Her knife plunged into the wall of the stadium. Kurenai then jumped into the air, throwing 2 more. The first blade was headed straight for him, the second tool went flying to the right. That gave the man the option to dodge to the front. He did not want to risk having those other 2 kunai being possibly rigged with explosion tags. The 2 final kunai were launched over her shoulders towards the retreating ninja. These blades were able to cut into the left leg of Shinji. A grunt of pain escaped from his mouth. One had hit his calf, and the other his hamstring. They were not in too deep, so the wounds were not life-threatening. The man yanked the weapons from his leg before standing. After he did, Shinji had wished he hadn't. His world began to slow down. His feet became unsteady and he collapsed to the ground. "What did you do to me?" he bellowed. Shinji could feel some sort of sensation crawl its way up his left leg. Soon it spread to his lower body and stomach. Paralysis was beginning to take over. "Forfeit, before that feeling reaches your brain. You used poison, didn't you?" he demanded more than questioned. "I won't tell. Forfeit if you value your life," she spoke demandingly. She would do that, even to a fellow shinobi. One of the crowd members asked. "I have no idea what she did." After a few more seconds, the feeling reaching his chest, Shinji stated that he forfeited. Upon stating that, the numbness subsided and he was able to regain feeling. "What did you do?" he whispered. He was a village comrade to her, so he knew she should try to keep her technique as much as a secret as possible. It was a genjutsu of sorts. Most genjutsu are cast outside the body, but when it is cast inside the body, it is harder to detect because the chakra actually reaches the brain. Since the human body is composed of mostly water, I just installed the feeling of that water freezing. "I see." Shinji then walked in front of her and held out his hand. She gratefully accepted it and they shook. From here He saw that his eyes did in fact hold the familiar Uchiha Dujutsu. However, there was only one comma mark in it. She had been able to beat an Uchiha and she was quite proud of herself. Winner. Kurenai. The crowd went wild. The civilians always loved a good battle. Up in the cage booth, Sarutobi noticed Naruto down in the stands. The elderly ninja then turned his gaze to the man beside him. The Ondime Cage was a rather young man and beside him was a younger boy with red hair. After the contestants finished, the Cage signaled the proctor start the next match. The next 2 combatants enter the arena. And the Hokage turned his attention to his fellow Cage. "So who is this young boy next to you?" "My son," came a curt response. Sarutobi looked the boy over more carefully. His red hair contrasted against his deathly pale skin. A gourd of sand was strapped to his back and was nearly as big as the youngster. The kanji for love was engraved upon the left side of his forehead. A terrifying aura radiated around the boy. "He must be," the elder Cage left the statement hanging. "Yes, his name is Gaara." "Hello Gaara-kun, it's nice to meet you." Gaara did not respond, but he gave a polite bow to the superior ninja. "Would you mind if I brought up Konoha's hero? Be my guest Hokage-sama." Sarutobi motioned for one of his Anbu to retrieve the blonde. A woman with a cat mask nodded and disappeared. Down in the stands, Naruto had just finished the 4th match of the tournament. The third fight had ended in a draw since neither shinobi could continue after one final attack. A hand on his shoulder brought his attention to the cat-masked Anbu. "Hokage-sama would like you to join him in the Hokage booth." What? It's not that he didn't understand her, it was more of the fact that it was a great honor to be invited to that particular viewing area. It was like being asked to come to the VIP of a club even though you were just a simple civilian. Naruto nodded, not trusting his voice to respond. The Anbu placed her other hand on Naruto's shoulder. They soon appeared beside the Hokage. "Ohayo Hokage-sama." He bowed low and noticed the Cage. "It is an honor to meet you Cage-sama. He is rather polite for one so young." The sand leader mentioned with a low chuckle. "May I hear your name, little guy?" Naruto's fists tightened until his knuckles were white. Pay no attention to it. Pay no attention to it. It would cause a war if you punch the Cage. Plus he doesn't know. Sarutobi came to the rescue. Naruto does not like to be called little Kazekage-sama. Oh, the man stated surprised. Forgive my rudeness then Naruto-san. It's no problem. The blonde stated, visibly relaxing. May I ask why you summoned me Hokage-sama? Yes, I would like you to meet Gaara. He is the Kazekage's son. Cool. The boy shouted. Naruto basically jumped at the redhead. His arm extended, attempting to receive a handshake. After a while, Gaara's father's voice broke the silence. Do not be rude son. Shake his hand. You two have a lot in common. Realization registered in Gaara's mind. Like me. So that means. The Sand Genin took a hold of Naruto's hand and shook it politely. The instant their hands met, both froze. The one path. Tenshu and Kageshin whispered. What? Naruto questioned the symbiotic blades. This child has a single path to follow. Much like how you have 9. In Gaara's mind, the 9 path, howled a voice. Boy, do not cross this child. Why? Questioned Gaara. You have just one path to follow. This, Naruto, guy has 9. He is more powerful than you. So he is like me. Correct. Normal POV. The two children looked each other in the eyes. A sense of recognition clearly written on both faces. It is nice to meet you Gaara-san. For the first time that day, Gaara's monotone voice sounded. The feeling is mutual Naruto-san. It was at this time that the next battle was announced. Naruto's fear had come true. The next match is Anko and Kurenai. Will the combatants please enter the stadium? Dang it. Why does Kurenai have to fight against that poison user? Sarutobi could see the worry in the boy's aura. Truth be told, the elder was also worried about this fight. Through all the fights that Anko had fought, she had used a reptile and was proficient in poisons. From this information alone, the Hawk Age was pretty sure who this Chunin's teacher was. Only one man had some of the signature techniques. Orochimaru, he thought venomously. Back in the arena, Kurenai turned all her attention to the woman before her. However, Anko's attention was on the blonde in the cage booth. Naruto was glaring right at her, and she just smiled evilly at him. Kurenai then turned her gaze to her little one. Naruto shifted his gaze to his princess. Her countenance calmed him down instantly. She stated she would be fine. A small smile graced her lips. He gave a simple nod. She knew what that meant. I will give her hell. I will get this promotion and prove my strength. Hajime, came the proctor's voice. Instantly Kurenai began some seals. Sand rose from the ground and charged the poison user. Anko simp. Lee placed her hand upon the ground and took a deep breath. Then she placed her hand into the cancellation seal. Kai. The wall of sand vanished immediately. For the second time that day, Kurenai whipped out the sealing scroll from her pouch. This time she activated the seal that read, Leaf. Thousands of leaves poured from the scroll, blanketing the ground. The red-eyed woman then began a second string of seals. Before she could finish the sequence, snakes tore from the ground. She backflipped from the reptiles and grabbed a fistful of leaves. She quickly added chakra to them and threw them. The harmless vegetation turned into spinning razor blades. The snakes were cut to ribbons in a matter of seconds. Konoha shuriken right. That's a neat trick. Anko mocked. More snakes exited her robe and began to chase after Kurenai. Then Anko followed up the attack with a purple-colored smoke bomb. The Konoha ninja kept running and would throw a kunai to dispatch a snake or two. But every time she killed one, Anko would send 3 more from the cover of the smoke. As time edged forward, Kurenai was getting closer and closer to being bitten. Eventually she began another string of seals. The leaves on the ground suddenly flew outwards towards the wall. The leaf-made blades killed all the snakes. Once she knew she was okay for a little while, she finished another quick series of hand signs. Hyakaryurin. A giant tornado of leaves encircled the entire battle zone. There was no way that Anko could escape this wide-range genjutsu. Kurenai's body suddenly vanished in the torrent of vegetation. Occasionally the woman's body would appear before vanishing again. The wind created from her movement blew away the smoke to reveal the snake wielder. She remained calm, and that really worried Naruto. What is she planning? The blonde thought. Every time the Konoha kunoichi appeared, Anko would attempt hit her with wave after wave of slithering reptiles. Perspiration was causing Kurenai's movement to become slower over time. Anko knew it, Naruto knew it, and she was running out of time. It was then that the genjutsu mistress started to hurl explosive kunai when she appeared. Enko was usually able to dodge, but a few of the explosions made her lose balance. Now, Kurenai told herself. With a burst of speed, the Junin hopeful was next to the snake user. Kurenai watched in horror as Enko's tongue flicked out and then back into her mouth. A smile spread from ear to ear. As Kurenai's knee collided with the other woman's temple, the attack became stuck in mud. A mud clone. Sarutobi mentally yelled, however. Remained calm on the outside. It is as I feared. Orochimaru has begun to move again. The real Enko burst from the ground. The now trapped female received a viscous uppercut. Blood sprayed from her mouth as she was sent flying. Unfortunately, the attack did not stop there. Enko appeared above the dazed opponent and planted both knees into her stomach. More blood excite. D from Kurenai's mouth as she slammed into the ground. You thought you could hide from me? Enko teased. I can feel the vibrations in the earth and I can easily smell you. What type of ninja used lavender-scented body wash? Who are you trying to impress, Ms. Ice Queen? The woman's mocking gaze Kurenai more motivation to pick herself back up. That was why she had those snakes chase her. It used her to perspire and that would make her scent stronger. Without another word Kurenai charged. The two women battle in taijutsu for a little while. Kurenai clearly had the upper hand and had landed a lot more blows. A punch to the face caused a trickle of blood to enter Enko's mouth. A wicked grin then covered her face. You made me bleed, she cheered. I don't see any more reason to hold back. Hold back, everyone thought. Enko then struck quickly and relentlessly. A fist plunged into Kurenai's stomach, then her face, next an elbow to the back, a knee to the gut, and then a roundhouse kick to her chest. The power of the attack sent her skidding across the ground. The pain made her incapable of moving. As she regained her breath, she glanced at Naruto. He was gripping onto the railing with such force that it was bending and groaning. Worry, fear, and pain were written in his body language and facial expression. She could not bear to see him like that. Kurenai could read that expression. It stated, please stay down. This promotion is not worth your life. With a little difficulty she was able to produce a weak smile. Upon seeing her reaction, his eyes narrowed in anger. But if you do, I cannot protect you. His gripping power increased as tenshu spread across the limb. Weakly Kurenai returned to her feet and dropped into a taijutsu stance. Let's continue with this beatdown. Enko smiled wickedly again, up in the cage booth. With every strike that landed, the blonde's fingers dug deeper and deeper into the metal railing. Eventually it broke and shattered under the pressure. Rin suddenly appeared and kneeled down. Forgive my rudeness, Hokage-sama, please allow me to stop this fight. She begged, not looking the man in the eyes. If you do, Rin-san, you will cause her to lose her chance at a promotion. Those are the rules. The elder ninja spoke quietly. A shrill cry pierced the air. A cave in a dark mountain range. Two red eyes opened. A deep growl exited the being's throat. With a burst of speed the silver-colored creature jumped from the cave. Its steps made no sound as it leapt from mountaintop to mountaintop. Eventually it gained so much speed that no naked eye could see it. Back at the arena, Kurenai was suspended off the ground by a boa constrictor. Her neck was being slowly crushed, and her feet were not able to reach the ground. The distras, said woman, clawed away at the scales of the large snake. It was then that black tendrils crept up Naruto's neck. I warned you, boy, Tenshu growled. If you do not go down there and save her, I will take your arm. Those black tendrils began to pulse with pain. Naruto collapsed to his knees. He could not scream due to the sheer amount of pain. But I promised Kakashi that I would not interrupt her fight. But you promised me that you would protect that woman. You said that if you do not fulfill that promise I can take your right arm and retribution. That is why I told you to choose your words carefully, boy. Tenshu was beyond pissed. Naruto grabbed his right shoulder. It felt like it was being ripped out of its socket. Rin appeared at his side, ready to jump over the railing to save her friend. However, Naruto's hand on her stomach stopped her. Don't, the boy breathed heavily before realizing something. Do not risk her promotion and the life of your child. He knows. Naruto was lit to feel two chakra signatures within Rin. He could not allow her to make any risk. Decide within the next minute, boy. A cry of pain from Kurenai emphasized the weapon's point. Both of you will not last much longer. Enko dug a third kunai into the woman's thigh. Blood gushed out like a river. Her cries of pain allowed the boa to tighten its grip around Kurenai's neck. Soon, she would be incapable of breathing at all. So this is how I am going to die? She questioned, tears flowing from her eyes. Naruto, Kurenai whispered as she went limp. Upon seeing this, Naruto cried out in pain. Kurenai. Finally, the searing agony in his shoulder became too much to bear. The blonde male collapsed, tears streaking down his cheeks. You can say goodbye to your woman and your arm. Tenshu's voice echoed. Disappointment interlaced into his tone. I expected more from you. Rin was instantly by Naruto's side, checking his vitals. Both Kages watched the expert medic Nin check the boy. Said Medi. C then noticed the back veins going all over his right appendage. What the? A crash interrupted her speech. The arena halted everything they were doing when a ferocious roar vibrated from the battlefield. It was a bestial sound that was a mix between metal on metal and the howl of T-Rex. Enko stood petrified as the snake that had been holding Kurenai now lay in innumerable pieces. Upon closer inspection, she found that she was staring at a metallic wolf. The only difference between a real wolf and itself was that there were multiple weapon-like apparatuses upon its body. Its mane was a conglomeration of sword blades. The tail being similar in structure, and its shoulder blades were literally so. Two side-like blades stretched from the supposed areas. Every claw was like a wickedly curved dagger, and its teeth were also similar. The hind feet of this monster were much thicker than the front. This was probably an ability to run and jump extremely well. None of these factors made Enko the least bit frightened. It was the eyes that so shook her to the core. They were a menacing blood red. There were no pupils, in fact, the entire socket glowed crimson. One sudden move and she would be on the receiving end of those sharp teeth. Where have I seen that before? Haku inquired. She looked to Zabuza, but he was as shocked as everyone else. The beast moved in a flash. Gently it rubbed its head into the crook of Kurenai's neck. With a coughing fit, the woman returned to the land of the conscious. At first she was struck with fear as she now noticed the giant wolf in front of her face. Its eyes were closed so she did not have to witness its glare. Her hand slowly touched the side of its head and it gladly leaned into the caress. Thank you, she whispered, her throat sore from the boa. She collapsed again, exhausted. When this happened, the mane of blade stood on end and the wolf's attention returned to the snake wielder. The glare returned full force. Why can't I move? She freaked. Within seconds the wolf was upon her. It struck Enko straight in the solar plexus with a ferocious headbutt. Along with the wind in her lungs, Enko also went limp and crashed through the wall of the stadium. As though the beast's mission was done, it leapt away. Seconds later a roar echoed throughout the village and then all was silent. That's it for today, I will stop here. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you please consider subscribe and make sure to hit that like button, share with your friends and don't forget to check out my Patreon. Details in description.